naked ass in the great state of Texas. Home of the player, so it never been the Lexus. So long we've been waiting, never ever hating. In Houston we elbows, in Cali they dating. So 1996, you hoes better duck, because the world gon' drip candy and be all screwed up. Just pop, beat the breaker set, turn up the fucking deck, lend me your ear because it's outside.
What up?
Nine, he was smoke tree.
What's the deal?
What's
the deal? What's the deal?
Ain't no love for haters and you busted dick suckers. On the south side we staying paid, motherfucker.
What up? I already know how we gonna do this shit, so shuffle up the cards already. Alright. What up? 313. Shout out to Detroit. Yeah, if y'all wanna ask questions, I mean, shoot the motherfuckers. Let the intro play out. Y'all can ask whatever the fuck y'all wanna ask. You know what I mean? What up? Screw it up. Definitely shout out to DJ Screw. Shout out to Houston. You already know how we rule. You already know how we moving. Straight off the dome. I'm popping the trunk and smoking a skunk and pulling up candy rays. Sitting on buckling, giving a fuck and able to turn a head. Something serious when I let go, cause I got away with words. I'm able to clown with using a noun to take the place of verbs. My lyrics go together like a pair of socks and shoes. My flow is slow because it's bolted down by DJ Screw. Take it from me, the nigga the key, the H, the A, the R and D. Meaning to society, born and raised to be a G. I grasped the phone. What video did you go over how to exactly tap into any energy? Check my last video. I talked all about spirits and what it means to be a spirit and all that. So check my last joint. I just got so many videos. You can check any live stream, any video I did this year. So check the videos I did this year in my live streams. That's when I'm really answering the questions. You know what I mean? That's the point of the live streams. The point of the live streams to answer the questions, whatever. Get a little bit more personal. Let me turn this down a little bit. We're gonna get it started. Let me turn this down. Alright. What up? Let me get this position correctly. And we're gonna go in. Alright, cool. Somebody asked me, does questions change your reality? Did your why change your reality? Alright. So did your questions change reality? Let's see. If I want to answer that, absolutely. What up? Absolutely. Your questions do change reality because it changes the way you perceive reality when you start to question things. And when you start to see the true nature of things by questioning things, it expands your perspective and you're able to see more of the picture. So when you are able to see more of the picture, then how you respond to what you see and how you feel and how your body reacts is going to switch as well. So questioning reality does change it because it makes you more aware of reality by asking certain questions. If you're asking to see more and to know more and just to go deeper and to explore further, then definitely your reality can make a complete 180 asking the right type of questions. And what may be the right type of questions is just the nature of reality. And that's going into quantum physics, metaphysics, the spiritual realm, all that. All these things happen on a metaphysical level. So, metaphysical level, spiritual level. So, the more questions you have, the more you go up in your perspective. So, constantly ask questions, constantly expand and explore your knowledge, because history is not set in stone, regardless of what we may think. What do I mean by that? You know what I mean? Yeah, this is definitely Big Racks by Young Thug. The song before that was DJ Screw and Pimp the Pen 3 in the morning. For anybody who want to know. So yeah, we definitely bumping the Chopped and Screw today. You know, just to be in tune. You know, with the spirits of the dead. Shout out to DJ Screw once again. You know what I mean? Any videos on telepathy? Telepathy in the sense of, if you really want to communicate with people just using thoughts, just transferring thoughts. I don't think I dedicated a whole video to telepathy. But if that's something you're interested in, telepathy, then just try that shit. You know what I mean? You spelled it wrong, don't even trip. I know what you're talking about. So I can quickly touch on telepathy. I don't think I dedicated a full video. But to briefly answer your question, telepathy is just transferring your thoughts to other people. So if you want to do that, there's several ways to do that. Use your visualization. You can visualize a white light with your thought in tune to it. It raises up your lower back, the middle back, the upper back. So it goes up your spine to the back of your head, make that bitch spin around to the third eye and shoot out your idea. So try that, see how it works out. Or you can make whatever type of variation you want to make. How do you memorize all this shit? It's not really a fact of memory. It's just more so of when you've been in this shit for a long time, it's like this shit. This is me in my natural state. I say it like that. This is me in my natural state. This is me anyway. This ain't a YouTube persona. This ain't something I'm just doing for the camera. This is not something I do to be cool. Like, I was already into this shit before I was teaching this shit, or whatever you want to call this. You know what I mean? This is something I'm already into, so it's natural for me to... I'm already interested in this type of stuff. This is what I research every single day. I'm intaking new information, whether it's to further what I already know or it's to learn new things. So this is what I do anyway. So it's not, for me to memorize it, it's just more so of you just doing what you love to do. When you do what you love to do, it's easy. So when you really take your reality seriously, you really question the universe and what's going on, it's just natural. You know what I mean? When you have motive, it's easy. You know what I mean? Hold on, let me turn this down a little bit. Any good videos on manifestation? I could name a video on manifestation. I don't really watch YouTube for that reason. I'm not gonna say I don't watch YouTube, but I don't really watch YouTube for that reason. I'm not watching manifestation videos. Not because I don't believe the people. It's just more so of, it's more of a personal thing. You want to find out your own personal patterns. You want to find out what works for you. You can do exactly what somebody else said and still not have those same results. So you want to find out what works for you. And based on what works for you is based on your genetic build, you know, the type of shit you into. That's why it's all about, somebody said I got a good video on manifestation. So of course I didn't want to shout myself out, because if they already knew that, they probably already seen my video. So if you didn't see the video, that's definitely, just check out my most popular video. I talk about manifestation. Okay, so for the people who don't know, I have done a video on manifestation. It's actually my most viewed video. So when you go to my page, you click on videos and you click on the tab of the most viewed videos. Better yet, just go to my playlist. Go to my channel, click on playlist, and I have a whole playlist dedicated to manifestation. So I put every video I ever did on manifestations, probably about 5 to 10 videos. So go to my channel, go to my playlist, and it's a playlist called Manifestation, and I put all my videos on there. So, you know, that'll pretty much take you wherever you want to go with it, combined with your own personal experience. So that's when I want to start off today anyway. What up? I want to go more into my history before I go into any of this other stuff. And what do I mean by my history? I want to talk about not necessarily super in depth, just my transition from not knowing shit. What up? We happy you made it here. I want to talk about my transition from me not knowing nothing for me coming into a little knowledge, and to me becoming a magician on that magician sorcery shit. That came last. Like the shit I talk about now came last. This is more so where I'm at right now. But if you check out my earlier videos, you found me. Shout out. You in a good place. If you check out my earlier videos, it was more dedicated to the Eastern sciences. I taught more so about the Eastern philosophies. Now I'm talking more so about the mathematical and the alchemical philosophies. You know what I mean? So I like to study all things. So there's no telling what I'll be talking about because I'm always intaking all this information. But to answer the question, well, not to answer the question, just to go into detail about what I'm talking about. I am what you're striving to be. You know what I mean? You put in that work. That's all I got to say. All I got to say is you got to put in the work. You know what I mean? I've been studying this shit since I was a teenager, you know. And yeah, it's like 10 years. I got a decade in this shit. So, because it's been enemies. See, that's the thing. Nobody came to me and told me anything. I didn't have a teacher. You know what I mean? All those things came after. But in terms of my initial studies, it came from within me. The only thing I had access to was the internet. So I used the internet to further my studies and things that I already was interested in. And that's what I mean. I already had a love for this type of information. It started off with astrology, with knowing the zodiacs and people's zodiac signs and shit like that. And that expanded into everything that you see on this channel. But it really started there. But nobody really was telling me like, yo, you need to get into this. This is just what I was naturally drawn to. It just came from the spirit. And hold on, let me see what this dude is talking about. Somebody said they currently homeless and broke, but you believe magic is in this place. So in that type of situation where you have nothing, it's more so this is when your discipline comes into play. Because I've been in the streets before. I've been in the same position you've been in. I've been broke and fucked up. You know what I mean? So I can tell you from experience, from walking that path, it all comes down to discipline. If you can discipline yourself, you're really not going to have no problems. Because the worst thing you really face in these streets is a lack of discipline. And what do I mean by that? As long as you're not following behind what somebody else doing, you know what I mean? You're not getting involved with the wrong crowd. You already know what the wrong crowd is. People that's getting into bullshit. You know, that don't really have nothing to do with you. As long as you're not getting into the obvious things that you already know you shouldn't be doing, you shouldn't be into, unless that's what is within you. For example, like if you in the streets because it's a part of you, like you are the streets type shit, you know, so it's by choice. So if it's not by choice, which you're saying is, it doesn't seem like it's by choice, it may be by choice. But to give you a personal example, it comes down to discipline. So if you can discipline yourself, you know, drink more water, eat less food. That'll be the first thing. Start to drink more water and eat less food. Also, start to travel. If you homeless and you don't have no money, you probably not working right now. The dark night of the soul, all right, that'll be the next question I answer. I can talk about the dark night of the soul. But to finish up my answer, if you have nothing, train yourself to be more disciplined. Put in your mind that it ain't nothing stopping you from building up your energy level. See, it's all about energy. We know this, right? Energy is the core factor of everything we do. It's about energy. So if you understand it's about energy, you want to build up more energy so that you can hold more energy. The more energy you can hold, the more abundant you become. So how do you build? You want to train your body, such as doing things like Tai Chi. You want to train your body so that you can hold more prana. You can hold more chi. You can hold more kundalini, whatever you want to call it. That's why you build up your body. So if you're homeless and you broke, like I was saying, you probably not working. You probably don't have a job. So you probably, all you have is time. So if all you have is time on your hands, You know, besides putting in applications and all that stuff, you know, which you already know about, you discipline your body, you discipline your mind, and you discipline your spirit. So when you actually do start working and your money start rolling in, then you will definitely see a difference. You know what I mean? So that's my answer for that. Now somebody asked me about, okay, hold on. You do reply back. It's by choice. You wasn't able to succeed in work environments, but you would take the advice. Appreciate it. So if it's by choice, then definitely go hard. Train your body, train your mind, and train your spirit. See, what I would do when I was in the streets, I would keep mantras in my head. I would repeat mantras in my head. I will always be traveling around. So I'm keeping my body in motion by traveling all around the place, whether I'm on the bus or I'm on foot. It didn't matter to me as long as I can get to point A to point B. Then spiritually, so you got the mind working with the mantras, you got the body working with the workouts, and, you know, just being active. Then with your spirit, this starts to develop your spirits, because once your mind and your body is trained, or you begin your training, the spirit world starts to open up to you, because now you're doing things you wasn't doing before. You're seeing things you wouldn't see before, and you having experiences that you otherwise wouldn't have. You're definitely gonna see a lot of things you otherwise wouldn't see, and I definitely would suggest that you take it very seriously. You don't look down on yourself because you may be in a position like that. You know, it's easy to get back up. So don't look at yourself like you failed at life. But you said it's by choice, so it's something that you choose to go through. So that is definitely by choice. Since it's by choice, that means, you know, you being a man, you doing man shit. To me, that's man shit. Being homeless, fasting, it's just man shit. You know, it's just shit. You just, whether you in the streets or not, this is just shit you just learn discipline. It's going to teach you discipline. That's what it's going to do. And through you being taught that discipline, you're going to get better. But then, of course, you got the people that let this shit get the best of them, and they don't learn the discipline. That's the people that you kind of see just roaming around the streets with no direction. It's just a lack of discipline. So as long as you have discipline and you continue to build your discipline, you really don't have nothing to worry about. You shouldn't be concerned with somebody, you know, attacking your life or nothing like that. I wouldn't suggest sleeping on the streets. I would say sleep in trees. That way you don't have to worry about nobody running up on you when you resting. Sleep on rooftops or sleep in trees, so that you have something in the way of somebody that's coming at you when, you know, hitting up your pockets or wanting to do some harm to you or some shit like that. So don't put yourself in those type of positions. You have to know how to maneuver. I'm pretty sure you know the places to go to, the places you shouldn't be. You know, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with your city, so, you know, I don't want to tell you anything you already know. So getting back to the other question, somebody asked me about the dark night of the soul. Now, the dark night of the soul is basically you come into the realization of who and what you are. What do I mean by that? For some people, that may come in the form of a bad dream. It may come in the form of a spiritual awakening that isn't easy. Like, for example, with the Kundalini rising, that's a phrase that a lot of people are familiar with. With the Kundalini rising, it's not an easy process. It's not easy. You know, you're going to go through a lot of things besides becoming enlightened and all that stuff. That's a process. It all goes back down to discipline as well, because based upon your discipline is going to determine how far you can go in your evolution of enlightenment. What do I mean? The further you go up in your enlightenment, the less you start to care about these worldly things. Now, I'm not saying that you don't care about money and all that. You're not trying to pay your bills. I'm just talking about shit like politics and, you know, just the way the world is, the Donald Trumps and all that. That shit just, you don't really concern yourself with none of that, because that's all external stimuli. You start to stimulate yourself more internally. Or in other words, it's more so you start to see the other side of life. The dark side of the soul, as I said, may come in the form of a nightmare. It may come in the form of something that really bothers you to your core. And you have to learn how to deal with that. And by you learning how to deal with those things, that's how you evolve. It's the journey more so than a destination. So the dark night of the soul is just really the beginning of a journey to something else, to a higher level. So it's something you have to pass through. The dark side, basically, to clip off the dark Vader, right? The Doff, the knowledge. You have to pass through that darkness to get to the enlightenment. So it's just a stage in your growth and development. Now, a lot of people get spooked out and freaked out, you know, because if you go into churches and you go into people that don't really, it's not that they don't understand what's going on, it's just that they have an agenda. And when you speak to people that have an agenda, for example, like they run a business like a church or an organization who is all about business first, meaning they have to maintain their business. So, of course, whatever they recommend to you will be in their best interest and not your best interest. And by you understanding that, you understand that all answers have to come from within. And you start to learn your own subconscious language. We all have a subconscious, and our subconscious speaks a unique language that's exclusive to us. So the more that you start to understand your subconscious language and how to communicate with yourself, your own subconscious, your own unconscious, your own conscious mind, your superconscious, your God conscious, it's like 5 levels of consciousness. When you start to communicate with these different levels of consciousness, then you will understand. You know, so if that's a little bit advanced, I apologize, but that's what I'm here for. To tell you the hard shit that nobody else is gonna tell you. You know, cause I'm just here letting y'all know the type of shit I've been through. Somebody else asked me something. What's up? Do you believe people should utilize sigils more in our life for a complete manipulation of our reality using symbols? Now, let me explain what a sigil is, so that for the people that may not know what a sigil is. A sigil is a symbol. A symbol is a mathematical equation. Now, for example, go to my video, The Mindset of a Magician. It's like a 2-hour-long video. I actually show the sigils I have. I show like 10 different sigils, right? So sigils are definitely something I work with, definitely I've showed to people. You know, so when it comes to more people involving more sigils in their lives, it really just depends on what energy you're trying to work with. Whatever energy that you want to channel to yourself, the planetary energy or energy you want to bring out from within you, that's why you work with sigils. You work with sigils to connect with a certain type of energy. It's like a mathematical equation that's going to solve a particular problem. So with that being said, is it for everybody? Not at all, because some people will prefer to just to meditate and just to put their hands together and do this. You know what I mean? Some people ain't trying to do, some people are not trying to put in no work. So that's the difference. The difference between real spirituality and what everybody is promoting and what everybody wants to do is you really have to put in the work. You know what I mean? Like, you have to put in the work. That's really the thing. Like, you can't just sit up and manifest everything from thought. Now, of course, they will have you believe you can do that. But that's why I talk about Tai Chi. That's why I talk about, you know, building up your energy. Everything is energy. When you build up your energy, you transmute energy. Because energy cannot be created or destroyed. Since energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only change form. Since energy can only change form, when you work out, you know, when you think certain thoughts and when you start to do spiritual practices, what it's doing is it's changing the energy that you emit in your aura. Your energy is changing, which causes you to experience a different type of experience or a different type of reality, because your atomic structure or your atomic core is changing based on the type of thoughts you're putting out, depending on how healthy you are. Because again, we can't really see what's going on within our body. We don't really know the state of, you know, of your liver, your kidneys, your gallbladder, large intestines, small intestines. All these things have a health level. So since we can't really see these things, you may feel good, but you may be having liver problems that you may not even be aware of. So that's why you fast. You fast to keep the body on point for this type of shit that you don't see. Because anybody who fasts, Anybody who fasts knows. Like after a couple days, because basically what happens when you stop eating, you stop having to use the bathroom, right? Doing number 2. But when you break your fast and you start eating again, now all of the stuff that's been cleaning out of your body is going to rush out. The difference is a lot of that stuff be blood. You know what I mean? Again, for people who fasted a long period of time know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like the type of stuff that be coming out your body. It's not just, the food that you ate. It's the shit that's been building up within you that you knew nothing about. That may be causing your fatigue or you to feel some type of way. Most of the time, when we be feeling some type of way, it be some type of internal things that we just know nothing about. So when you fast, what you're doing is you're giving your body that cleanse. So anything that may have been building up inside you, you take care of that. That's why when you fast, you have a spike of energy. You have a spike of clarity and awareness, because most of the time we are clogged up, and because we can't see it, we don't notice it. Or you think, just because you may be skinny, or just because you may be in shape, or just because your diet is good, that you don't have to deal with that, which is incorrect. You can, even if your diet is on point, it's still things that can build up in your body, mucus and all this stuff, just by other ways. You know what I mean? It can be strictly thought. So what you're doing is you're keeping the body, the mind, and the spirit all in unison. This is why you do the Tai Chi or any type of, martial art. You combine your martial art with your spiritual practice so that your body and your mind can merge together. Because if you're doing strictly mental work or spiritual work, but your body isn't on point, then you're not going to be able to manifest the way you should be able to manifest, because you're not building up the proper amount of energy for you to do power moves. That's what everybody want to do, right? You motherfuckers want to be successful. Motherfuckers want to be out here busting power moves. That's all energy. For example, like there's ways to get things without having to go through the traditional route, right? There is an alternative reality to every reality. Every reality has an alternative reality. There's people that work hard to get a Mercedes-Benz, work for years, save up for years, and they finally can afford that car. Then there's motherfuckers who can afford that car in half that time doing something else. So it really just depends on your mind. There's so many opportunities out here, and that's another thing I want to talk about anyway, because the last video, people were asking me about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and all that, so I'm going to get into that a little bit later, because I definitely want to continue to answer these questions while we're in here, but that'll definitely be something I'll get into a little bit later. So let's see. Somebody say, please answer my question. How does smoking cigarettes on a regular affect spirituality on a cellular level? Okay. You kind of phrase that question weirdly, but I get your point. To answer your question, don't smoke cigarettes if it ain't for spiritual purposes. Same thing I talked about the weed. Watch my weed video, Weedology, right? Tobacco. Let's go into the metaphysics and we can be done with this. Tobacco connects you with Mars, the planetary vibration of Mars, or your solar plexus chakra, if you prefer that, or your adrenaline glands, if you prefer that. So, with tobacco connected to the planet Mars, the vibration of Mars, it also allows you to talk to spirits. That's why you be seeing people with the cigars in their mouth, because tobacco opens up the communication for spirits to communicate with you. And I'm not saying like hearing voices in your head. I'm not talking about that type of communication. I'm talking about communicating with nature, communicating with the trees, communicating with water, communicating with being able to see the signs and symbols of nature as they are revealed to you. Your intuition, as some call it. So that's what smoking tobacco does. it helps you communicate with spirits. Now, if you're just doing it for pleasure, or you're doing it based off of, an addiction, then I would definitely advise you knocking the habit. Smoke less. Less tobacco, more weed if you're just a smoker. Because some people are just smokers, so they need to smoke. That's their way of relieving stress and connecting with nature and all that. Not knocking nobody's way of connecting if that's the way you want to connect. But I would say switch up the tobacco for the herb if you just need to smoke. But if you can cut off both of them to the point where you only do it, you do it maybe, once a week or whatever, then slim down on it. Because there's definitely nothing constructive that's going to come from just blowing a bunch of cigarettes or even just blowing a bunch of weed that you don't really need. Like, if you're not getting spiritual revelations from smoking weed, then you not smoking that shit, right? Or you're not smoking the right weed. That shit should have you thinking on a divine level. It shouldn't just be about just have you fucking glued to the couch and shit. It should make you think, and then your divine mind takes over, and you're able to see things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to see. Not, under the influence of the spirits. But we'll leave that right there. Let's see what everybody else is talking about. Somebody said they had a question above his. Should you hold a sigil in your mind? See, the thing with the sigils is you don't want to necessarily keep giving it energy. See what I mean? Like, you want to create your sigil, like draw it out. Now, of course, I can show you. Let me go grab my sigils, and let me give you a prime example of what I'm talking about. So give me 1 second, I'll be right back. All right, back in this motherfucker. Now, just want to give y'all an example for those who are not current with my videos, because of course I've showed these things before, but just in case you've never seen them before, I'll show you briefly here. I'm not going to name the sigils. You should already know what this is. If you don't know what it is, just using it as an example. Now, I keep this hidden. So I don't just have this. This is my wallet, whatever. I have this shit in here. Right? I put this shit in here. I don't look at it. Why do you do that? Because you want to draw the sigil, construct the sigil, then leave it alone. Construct the sigil, put it in your wallet or put it on an altar or whatever, then don't think about it no more. It ain't really something that you have to constantly keep in your mind, because the purpose is to forget about it. Do it, then forget about it. For example, like, that's why people, they scribe certain images or certain messages within art, but they don't remember what the message is. So let's just say, for example, you do 5 art pieces a day, and each of those 5 art pieces have embedded it within it a spiritual message. Sigil magic, right? You're doing sigil magic. But since you're doing 5 a day, you don't necessarily remember which message is within which image. Which is good, because you're still going to be affected by the imagery. You just may not know consciously what it's doing, because you don't want to keep it on your conscious mind. You want to allow it to descend into the subconscious mind. When you allow it to descend into the subconscious, that's when it starts to work. Why is that? Because when we talk about basic quantum physics, it's about particles and waves. Everything that we perceive with our physical eyes is particles. Everything that we don't perceive with our physical eyes is waves. So particles can behave as waves. So now we're getting scientific, right? So since particles can behave as waves, when you create a residual, it's a particle, it's solid. When you take it out of your conscious mind and it goes to the subconscious mind, it becomes a wave and it starts to vibrate. Once that wave starts to vibrate on a subconscious level, that's when the changes start to take effect. So once it goes from the conscious, you consciously creating it, then you subconsciously forgetting it, just kind of keeping it out of your view, instead of constantly meditating on it. So that's the difference between constantly meditating on a residual and just letting it basically seep to the subconscious mind and allow the ethers to do what they do best. Let's see. Am I familiar with, what is this, Franz Barden practices? I have no idea what that is. I probably know what it is by a different name, but by that title, I don't know. I believe you forget the residuals first. Yeah, that's. I'm kind of behind on the comments, so I'm just making sure I answer. Let's see. Appreciate it, definitely. What's my view on crystals? All right, crystals. Crystals is essentially the same thing, meaning they all resonate with a particular planetary vibration or a chakra level or whatever, right? So when it comes to, let me 1 second. Let me see where we at. When it comes to the crystals, it's the same thing. You want to pick your crystals based on the type of energy you want to channel. You also want to have at least one crystal for every planet. So you got a crystal to resonate with the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. You have a crystal that resonates with each of those planetary energies. If you don't know what the crystals are that you have, or you don't know what energy they resonate with, then get a book called The Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs by Scott Cunningham. You can get it online free of charge, or you can get the physical copy and pay for it. But that will give you access. You'll be able to, not the magical herbs, excuse me. That's not correct. But that is the right author. He wrote a book called, I'm not even sure what the title of the book is, but type in Scott Cunningham crystals, and the name of the book is Crystals, Incense, and something else, and Metals. It's Crystals, Incense, and Metals. So type in Scott Cunningham Crystals, Incense, and Metals. That's not the title, but that's enough information for you to get to the title. It's an encyclopedia of crystals, incense, and metals, something within those lines. But that will give you insight into which crystal resonates with which vibrational energy. So once you know what each crystal represents on an energetic level, then you can go from there. So based on what energy you want to work with, you can use the crystal. The same reason why somebody would use a sigil or a tarot card, you can use for a crystal. So it's a tool. The crystals are divination tools, like all other divination tools. So it's a divination tool to connect with a particular type of energy. So definitely use it to the best of your ability. Okay. Let's see. How to interpret reoccurring dreams. Now, when it comes to reoccurring dreams, you want to get a dream dictionary first and foremost. Get a dream dictionary, whether you want to buy it or they have dream dictionaries online. So you want to get the outside or the objective perspective of your dream, which is going by symbols. So once you decode your dream by symbols, people, places, things, whatever, look up a dream dictionary and see what the interpretation is. After you do that, you use your own mind and you see what it has to do with you personally. So once you get an idea of what the objective reality may be for you having that dream, then you use your own mind to say, okay, what is this really trying to tell me for me personally? So definitely start with a dream dictionary to see what the interpretation of those particular type of dreams are. Then use your own mind and see what it has to do with you personally. Now, most of the time, when it's a reoccurring dream, when it's constantly happening, it's definitely trying to get your attention about something in your life. So really, once you're able to piece it together, I'm pretty sure you can. It's not rocket science. You should be able to piece it together once you understand what the symbols represent. So once you start to decode it and you see what the symbols represent, then you should be able to put two and two together, and you see, okay, it's trying to tell me this, it's trying to tell me that. And you just work from there. You just start with little pieces, start with little bits and pieces, and just start building. Just start building up. You know what I mean? Like we're doing here, just working the energy, right? Start building up the energy, and you see where it leads you. You know what I mean? So that's definitely a way of the subconscious communicating with us. You know what I mean? So, all right, yeah. Somebody put it in here. It's Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Crystal, Gem, and Metal Magic. That's the official title. So look up that book if you want to know what the planetary vibrations are for the crystals and metals in the incense. So that's a good guide for those who want to know what these things do on an energetic level, on a quantum level. So besides what the crystal actually does, now you get to see what planet is connected with. Then you get to see what element is connected with, and you also get to see what people used to do with it in ancient times. So I mean, you pretty much got all the information you need there. So appreciate you for plugging that in. You gotta go. Peace, peace, peace. Am I still working with altars? I definitely still work with altars. And the reason that I work with altars is because you can treat spirits are your helpers. Look at it that way. Look at it as spirits are here to help you. What you're really doing with an altar is giving them the tools to help. So you're not necessarily worshiping spirits. You're supplying them with the necessary energy so that they can work on your behalf. So you can do that with any type of spirit. So, some people look at spirits like you're worshiping this spirit and like you're a servant to this spirit. No, that's old news. We're not servants to anything. They are your servants. So when you approach them from that angle that they are here to serve you, but obviously they need energy to work with. So you supply them with the energy that they need to work on your behalf. Well, of course, then, you give them, it's like the middleman, right? The middleman is going to connect you with the plug. So let's just say you meet the plug through somebody else. Whoever this person is that's introducing you to the plug, you pretty much give him, like, let's just say it's a money exchange, right? You give him a certain percentage of that money. See, now this is going into business and street etiquette, which most people don't fucking have. And that's another thing. Make sure your business etiquette is on point. Even if you sell weed, make sure your business etiquette is on point. That's how you build up a clientele. It's not enough to sell weed. You got to build up your business clientele. You got to be willing to lose money in the short term so that you can gain money in the long term. What do I mean? What I mean is this. For example, for the people who understand drug terminology, let's just say it's an eighth. You want an eighth of weed. What's an eighth of weed is 3.5 grams of weed. The average price is about $40, right? Sometimes it's cheaper. Now, if you are an aspiring shaman or an aspiring medicine man, so I'm not going to refer to these people as drug dealers. They are medicine men and women supplying medicine, right? Let's keep it official. Now, let's just say the going price for Ace is $25, right? There's some people still charging $40, but then there's people who charge $25. Eventually, the person that's charging $40 is going to go out of business, because who the fuck wants to pay $40 when you can pay $25, right? Now, because the prices drop, because weed is so abundant now, it's fucking legal and all that shit. So since weed is legal now and the prices drop, you can get it at a cheaper price. So by being a business-minded person, and I'm using this example, but it can be applied to any type of business. It's just me using this example. Business etiquette is, the beat is crazy. I'm just playing any fucking thing. I didn't play my own fucking tracks. This is just a random ass playlist, but I appreciate you paying attention to the vibrational frequency of the beats. You know what I mean? Start freestyling in this motherfucker. So, your business etiquette. For example, be professional at all times. Because you have a lot of weed people who bring the hood mentality into the drug game, which is incorrect. You have to bring your business mind into whatever business that you run. For example, you know that as a business person, you know that I want to sell the best product for the least amount of money. So let's just say you selling your $25 eighths. When it's all said and done, you break even. You didn't make no profit. Meaning the only way for you to make a profit is if you sell it at $30 or if you sell it at $40. That's how you can make a profit. But if you sell it at $25, you pretty much breaking even. Now, what does that mean? What this is going to do is, because you understand that it's a competitive environment and fucking weed men and weed women come and go like night and day. If you're really trying to stick around and have some type of longevity and you're not trying to get caught up with none of the bullshit, business etiquette keeps you out of jail. Business etiquette keeps you out of beef, and business etiquette keeps you thinking like a business-minded person. What do I mean? So you're willing to take that loss to build up a clientele. What do I mean? So even if you got to break even, even if you're breaking even, you're still building up a clientele because you're selling bags that you otherwise wouldn't sell because you're charging $40. But the nigga down the street is charging $25. Who the fuck you think gonna get the $25? Now you can make an argument and say, well, my quality of weed is better. That's why I sell it for more money. It's a top-notch or top-grade herb. So I have to sell it for that because it's higher quality. Which may be the case. But let's just say you sell that top-notch shit for $30 instead of $40. So you don't make as big of a profit, but you charging $5 more, but offering a supreme product. People are willing to pay that $5 for better weed. Okay, I can pay that $25 for that mid, or I can pay that $30 for that top-notch shit. You're not making as much profit, but you're building up a clientele. Even if you start off selling that $25, that's to build up the clientele. You may have to lose some money. But how do you counterbalance that? You have to buy more product. I know I'm getting all technical. I'm not going to go too far, but just giving the jewels for those who have the ears to listen and who can correctly apply this. Let's just say you buy a pound at a time. And I'll end it here. Let's just say you the weed man. You buy a pound at a time. But when you buy a pound at a time, that's when you have to sell $40 per eighth to make a profit. Buying 1 pound at a time. But let's just say you bought 10. It's more money up front. But on the back end of it, you can sell your shit for 25 and still make a profit if you buy more up front. But if you buy less up front, that means now you have to get rid of this product quick. You have to sell it at a price that nobody is even trying to pay, so on and so forth. But if you buy more to begin with, you have more work to work with. And now you can actually give out free samples if you wanted to, just to build up a clientele, charge 25. You can charge that, let's just say 3 months, 6 months. You charging 25, then you raise it up by 5. But at this point, you got a clientele. You think they're not going to pay the 5? Especially when you got a supreme product and you continue to deliver. Every time they need you, you right there, you deliver this shit. Or you meeting people halfway. If you're not mobile, you at least meet people halfway instead of you having somebody actually come to your house. You shouldn't be revealing your location. If you in the game, shouldn't be revealing your location. If somebody want to buy some shit from you, you meet them somewhere. Or you go to them. If you don't want to go to their hood, you don't know what's going on around there, you meet somebody at a mutual location. But anyway, enough of the drug talk. Let's get back to these questions. Just giving out some jewels. Alright. How do I feel about what is that? Cardum, Kava, Cat's Claws, Blue Lotus. Oh, okay. I see you're talking about herbs for spiritual benefits. Okay, so when it comes to herbs and the spiritual benefits, just look at it as an aid. Look at it as an aid to your spirituality. Not the end all be all, just an aid. For example, when you talk about the herbs, you were talking about the Blue Lotus and all that. Or, herb, weed or tobacco or whatever. As I said, as long as you have a spiritual question, rather, every time you smoke weed or anything, you should be asking a question to be answered. Many people are doing that though, right? You should have some type of question that you're posing to the universe and you're trying to receive an answer. So when it comes from you trying to receive an answer from the universe, then the herbs are your greatest aid. The herbs are your greatest aids when you pose questions. Now, anything other than that, because that's on a spiritual level. If you're talking about on a physical level, not so much. So as long as your spirituality is on point, meaning you are posing questions to the universe, you're furthering your consciousness, and you know how to balance it because you got discipline, then, it's going to be smooth sailings for you. But again, you work with certain energies. Once you know the traits or the vibrations of the herbs, so the herbs that you asked me about, get the book, the Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs by Scott Cunningham, and look up those herbs and see what element they resonate with and what planetary vibration they resonate with. Then you get to see for yourself, can you bring these things together and create an alchemical mixture to have a unique experience? Because you don't have to limit yourself to one herb at a time. You can create mixtures. So it all depends on the type of energy that you're trying to connect with. So boom. Greetings from Southeast London. Shout out to London. I definitely fuck with London. You know what I mean? So what I want to do now is I want to just briefly talk about, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, so on and so forth, right? I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's very, very advanced, and it'll be something that I know the average person just isn't going to do. Because they're not going to have the patience, they're not going to have the discipline, and they don't really have the mind to understand it. But for those who do, this is for you. Now, the thing with cryptocurrency is the government don't fuck with it. So most likely it's not going to be mainstream, meaning it probably is not going to get to a point where everybody is using Bitcoin, because you have to understand how it works, and motherfuckers don't have time to be teaching people how to use a new currency, right? Especially a digital currency. But on the flip side of it, even though it may not be mainstream, it may actually still be a thing that you can invest in, that you can do. You can live off of Bitcoin if, for example, Amazon, let's just say Amazon.com, they start accepting Bitcoins. Now that's something that you can actually live off of now, because you can buy anything off of Amazon, including, you know, your groceries, your household things, clothes. You know, you can do anything using Amazon. So you can actually use Bitcoin as your everyday currency if something like that was to happen. So what is the whole thing about cryptocurrency? Why would people want to use it? What are the benefits? So on and so forth. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin in particular, cryptocurrency allows you to work directly with another entity. You don't have to go through anything. You don't have to go through a bank. You don't have to go through the government. You just give this person your account number, which is all coded. That's why it's called crypto. Crypto is like crypt, like a crypt. It's like locked. It's highly mathematical. So your account number, for example, to your Bitcoin wallet, as they call it, will be a sequence of numbers and letters, like scrambled numbers and letters that you wouldn't even be able to recognize. But this is the thing. If you really want to use Bitcoin, now there's certain things you have to learn. For example, you have to learn about the dark web. See, now look, we got to get more into the drug talk, right? Because this is what people actually use it for. For the people who actually are using it, this is what they're doing. Let me break it down. With cryptocurrency, because the government can't track it, they can't really see what's going on between the transactions. For example, let's just say you want to buy an ounce of weed, 28 grams, from somebody. Instead of you handing them $200 or $300, depending on what the price is, you can just send that money directly to their Bitcoin wallet. So now there doesn't need to be a physical exchange, and you can just pick up the product without any physical money being able to be exchanged, right? So, right, the dark web is no joke. Absolutely, that's why most people don't know about it, and I wouldn't even recommend the average person to even get into it, because you would get lost and you're not gonna understand it. And again, I'm not gonna go. I already made a video on the dark web back in like 2014. So just to let motherfuckers know how long I've been knowing about this shit, but I made a video years ago about that. So if you really want to know it, look up either that video or look up somebody else's video who explained the dark web. Now, why does the dark web matter in all this? Because that's the currency that the dark web uses is Bitcoin, right? See, you got two types of people with Bitcoin. You have the investors, people who want to invest in it and it builds them money. Then you have the people who actually want to use it as an actual currency. So you got investors, then you got the people that's going to actually use it. So in this video, I'm not really talking about the people that's not going to use it. Because if you just want to invest in it and it's just an investment you have and an investment that's going to build over time, by all means, if you got that 6 G's to invest in the Bitcoin, then do it. But if you're a type of person who actually want to utilize the Bitcoin to its fullest potential, which is not even at its fullest potential yet, but it is ways to work around it. That's why I mentioned the dark web. So the dark web, the currency for the dark web is cryptocurrency, namely Bitcoin. So for the people that are familiar with the dark web, or for the people that are unfamiliar with the dark web, what is the dark web? The dark web is basically everything that's not indexed by search engines. So meaning like when you go to Google or Yahoo or whatever and you type in something and results come up, the dark web is everything that doesn't come up, which makes up for like 98% of the internet. 98% of the internet is hidden. Somebody said the black market. Yeah, definitely. The new black market is definitely digital because it's just easier. Because again, you don't have to. Alright, this is basically what people do. What people do is, if you want to become the plug instead of buying from the plug, then this is the type of information you need to know about. If you're really trying to get high quality drugs, high quality, guns, anything on the black market, is there. That's why you have websites like Silk Road. If you don't know about Silk Road, do your research. That's where all the people get the drugs from. So you have people that sell drugs on there at high quantities. So like pounds or whatever. So what you could do is you could buy a pound. Let's just say, for example, you buy a pound of weed from somebody on the dark web. You exchange a Bitcoin and they send it to you in the mail. Now, somebody would say, how the fuck are you sending that much drugs through the mail? There's ways to do it. Trust me. This is a market that has been around for longer than we think, right? It's actually been around since America was created. There's always been a black market, and it ain't going nowhere. So for the people that are in tune into the digital world, now you have a digital option. So getting back on point. So if you don't know anybody, so let's just say you're trying to start up something, right? But you don't know, you don't have a connect. You don't have a plug. You don't have nobody to go to that has it that you can get it from. So that's where the dark web comes in. The dark web allows you to be the plug. So if you got your money right, and you trying to sell those perkies and those mollies and that herb and that lean, whatever motherfuckers is doing nowadays, people's paying high price for that shit. So you become the plug because you can buy whatever the fuck you need directly from a person and they will send it to you. So now you don't actually need to know a physical person. So that really alleviates a lot of, the complications that come with, buying large qualities of drugs or quantities of drugs for obvious reasons, right? So, going back into the Bitcoin, to me, if you're not doing that with the Bitcoin, at this point, unless you're investing in it in something that you want to build money over time, but if you're not using it like that at this point, like before it becomes available for Amazon and all that, so that's when like the average person start using it more when they see some type of practical use for it. Right now, it's not really practical because it's not really a lot going on. So, with that being said, I know most motherfuckers is probably not ready for that shit anyway, but I'm just putting the information out there for those who feel they are ready. Now you got some type of direction, right? So to sum it all up, Bitcoin, a digital currency, a cryptocurrency, so that it can't be traced, it's not monitored by the government, so you can make direct business transactions with people. So if you were standing right there where the phone is, and I'm right here, I'm like, all right, send me $200. You send it straight from your account to my account. I get the $200, then I give you whatever you asking for. So we don't have to actually exchange money. Since we're not actually exchanging money, that helps with, if the police and the law and all that, you can say, yo, no money was exchanged. There's no evidence that I bought or purchased none of this shit. So it protects you lawfully as well, so you don't have to worry about motherfuckers tracking your shit like that. Not that it's impossible, but it's harder to do. It requires the police to use more resources to start tracking your Bitcoin account, if they even know you have one. You get what I'm saying? Because That's another thing. You don't want to associate any of this information with your actual information. So you're not using your actual email. You're not using your actual name. You're not using your actual location. Everything is crypted, because to even access the dark web, you have to go through a process. So you can't just access the dark web on your regular internet browser like Firefox or Google Chrome or Safari, and you just type the shit in. It's a whole different process. You got to use VPNs and all that shit. If you don't know what a VPN is, if you don't know what Tor browser is, you know what I mean? Like, this definitely is not for you. So if you are somebody who's actually trying to use Bitcoin and make it useful and make it lucrative for you, then you must combine that information with the dark web. And you must apply that information into your actual street smarts so you can actually profit from all these things. So now you got to connect. So whatever you want, if it's drugs, if it's guns, whatever, you got to connect. And because you got this connect, who's pretty much going to sell you the shit for cheap, now you can make a profit on the streets. Or you can keep it all digital. You can become a seller on the dark web. But there's a lot of things that you have to learn. Like, even communicating with people on the dark web, it's not like you just exchange an email like Gmail or Yahoo or Hotmail. Everything is crypted. So when somebody sends you a message, it's going to come back as a scrambled, just numbers and letters all scrambled. Makes no fucking sense. You need to put that through an actual application to de-scramble the message, and you're going to see what the actual message is saying. So this is what I mean. You have to go through an actual process to encrypt messages and to decode messages and to actually make the transactions. And, everything is anonymous. Everything is cryptic. It's a whole different language. It's like learning a whole different language. So if you have the mental capacity to learn a whole different language, then by all means, the dark web is out there for you to utilize it to your heart's content. If you got enough heart and you're not worried about, the consequences and all that. But if you are, then you shouldn't be paying attention to this type of information. Now, that should answer the question about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, the dark web, how to utilize it practically. And of course, you're not limited to drugs. They have all type of things that are perfectly legal there as well. So if you don't want to get into the illegal side of things, they have things there that are completely legal. Just depending on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. Now, I'm already an hour in. Fuck. So the last thing I want to touch on is my history, a little bit of my history and how I developed this mindset that I have, right? All right. Briefly, I moved to LA when I was 18, right? This was in 2009. I had an idea of what LA was in my mind. As I'm pretty sure we all do, you have certain preconceived notions. But when I actually got there, it completely revamped my thinking. What do I mean by that? So, I was prey. Like, I'm not ashamed to say this at all. I was prey when I first moved to LA. What do I mean by that? Meaning I was being harassed by gangbangers and police. Motherfucker was like, who the fuck are you? And motherfucker, you know how the gangbangers do, motherfucker, where you from? Fuck you doing over here, all this stuff, like yada yada yada, right? So up until that point, I never experienced no shit like that. Like, a motherfucker's coming up, asking me where the fuck I'm from. Where the fuck you think I'm from? You know what I mean? Like, this shit didn't make sense to me. So, motherfuckers, they put, you ride your bike or whatever, motherfucker get stopped by the police because you got a book bag on, and the excuse they give you is, there's been a lot of robberies in this area, so we're just making sure. They gonna feed you with the bullshit because they hate to not catch you with shit. See, what happened with me is, I would be riding my bike or whatever, but I have this big ass book bag on. because I was hitting the library, so I was constantly taking out books. So they looking at this big ass book bag, and they're like, yo, this motherfucker must have some shit in there. So we're gonna create an excuse to search them. But when they saw one shit in that book bag, then their whole demeanor switched. When they opened up that book bag and they see it ain't nothing but books in this motherfucker, and I'm carrying these big ass books, because that's just how determined I was at that point to get this knowledge in. Hold on. Let me grab my charger. Give me 1 second here. Alright, plug this in so we can keep this going. Let me finish this up. Alright. Now, 1 second here. Let me make sure this doesn't fall over. Alright. Now, move this over a little bit. So, when I first came to LA, it was like I was just being targeted by motherfuckers who just knew, like, this motherfucker don't know what's going on around here and whatever. So, but when that shit happened enough times, it's just something within you that activates. Some people call it the killer instinct, right? Eventually, after you've been approached so many times and motherfuckers is giving you bullshit excuses, and it's like, this shit don't make no sense. Like, alright, fuck it. Next motherfucker approaching me is gonna get this work. So then I started carrying weapons on me. Cause I'm not gonna let nobody continuously punk me, and I don't have nothing to do with this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just here. You know what I mean? I'm not your opposition. You know what I mean? I'm not your fucking enemy. I'm just trying to get to point A to point B type shit. So you just start fucking carrying weapons. So at that point, I realized the shit stopped happening. Because when I finally got to the point where, like, I'm not leaving the house without this shit, I wish a motherfucker would ask me anything. Magically, nothing happens. Now, fucking cops are not bothering me. Gangbangers just seem to fucking disappear. Because I came in 2009, so that's when the shit was still, you know, it was still a little heavy. Because if you go there now, you're not going to really see that. Motherfuckers ain't going to be asking you nothing like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's 2017. You ain't really got to deal with that. But back in those days, the shit was still cracking. So I kind of came in the era where LA was still kind of traditional LA. Not like what it is now. So I kind of got the back end of, like, the last kind of final stages of, you know, gangbangers being out and about and they really asking you shit. Now, I'm not saying they're not doing that shit now, but police kind of got, you know, they're not really just letting motherfuckers hang around the center on the corner no more. So, or, you know, just hold down the blocks like that. So you still see them. Obviously, it's still gangs and shit there, but it's not open and out there and all exposed right in your face like it used to be. So once that killer instinct was activated within me, the shit stopped happening. And once it stopped happening, that's when I started to grow in my spirituality, because now I didn't have fear. You know what I mean? It was times where I'm like, I'm not leaving the house. I ain't trying to deal with these motherfuckers down the street. You know what I mean? Like, just to go to the library, you know, get some books. You know, because I'm trying to get my study on. You know what I mean? So, saying all that to say, I had to go through the ropes to get to where I am now. Like, this shit, it wasn't easy. It wasn't like, all right, you just get to do this spiritual shit and the physical don't have no effect on you. That's not what happened. You know what I mean? Right. I started to set up my protection. I started to protect myself. That's exactly what happened. And when I started to protect myself, the shit just didn't happen anymore. And when it didn't happen anymore, then I realized, all right, I have to be this way anyway. It ain't even about, oh, I'm doing this so I can protect myself from these dudes or the police. This is just what you should be doing anyway. In any city, in any location, you should be protecting yourself anyway. So when I developed that mindset of, all right, I have to make sure that I'm protected anyway, whether somebody's fucking with me or not. It just, you have to protect yourself. That's what LA brought that side of me out, because that side of me wasn't developed, right? That side of me wasn't developed before that, because when I was a teenager, I had I grew up in the hood, but by the time I hit 14 years old, we moved. So by the time when most people join gangs, your teenage years, we got up out of there. We had moved away, so I didn't really have to go through that at 15. I had to wait till I was 18. So, I was postponed a couple years before I had to see that reality and actually have to deal with it on my own as a man. You know what I mean? Where you don't have motherfuckers with you or nothing. Like, it's just something that you have to deal with. So LA brought out that killer instinct, but that's what it is. LA is definitely the base chakra. If you ever been to LA, you know it's this base chakra energy to the fullest. The positive qualities as well as the negative qualities. Now, going to Vegas, when I made the transition from LA to Vegas, that's when I started to develop a more of a spiritual, magical mindset. What do I mean by that? See, in LA, I started to dig into the occult. See, this is what happened. I'll let y'all know exactly how it happened. And again, I don't need to be on here too long because it's spiritual. Because, as I mentioned this in another video, I don't know which one, but I'll just reiterate it here. Just one day, out of the blue, I heard a spirit in my head. It's just something just told me, Asar. That I heard that in my head. I heard Asar. I never heard that shit before in my life. Type that shit in Google, find out it's the Egyptian god or the Lord of the Underworld. Which is why I took on the name Lord Asar at that time. Right? Because to me it was spiritual. I'm like, didn't nobody direct me to Egypt. I wasn't seeing a bunch of people rocking unks. And I just thought the shit was cool and I got into it. I didn't know nothing about that outside of, watching shit like Yu-Gi-Oh! And playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards when I was younger. I didn't know nothing about Egypt. And I didn't have people around me that... was into that type of information anyway. So, when I heard that voice in my head and it was actually linked to something, in this case, an Egyptian deity, that's when I started going hard with the Egyptian science and with the occult. I was introduced into the occult. So this may be around 2012. The whole 2012 thing, right? Because I resonate with that energy, the whole 2012, because that's when the shit started to switch for me personally on an occult level. So I was already into the knowledge, but I didn't know about the occult. Shit like sex, magic, and sigils and symbols and altars and all that stuff. I didn't have a deep understanding of the psychological effects of all these things and connecting the dots and the correspondences and all that. I didn't know about any of that. So I started to study that in LA. So when I made the transition from LA to Vegas, that's when I started to develop my magical mindset from studying the occult. That's what made me pick up things like tarot cards. That's what made me buy things like crystals, so on and so forth. So when I actually started to research deeper into the things, just divination as a whole, when I started to look deeper into divination when I got to Vegas, Vegas gave me the time to look deeper into divination. And when I got to Vegas, so this is now mid-2013 now. So by the end of 2013, that's when I did my first YouTube video. And that's, I also conducted my first actual ritual at the end of 2013. So if you go from 2012, me hearing this voice in my head, to the end of 2013, that's a full transition. So once I actually conducted my first ritual, which was dedicated to the devil, right? So-called a satanic ritual, all that spooky shit. Cause I was spectacle. I'm like, oh, is this shit really real? Like everybody else, is this really real? It's only one way to find out. And the reason I chose a satanic ritual or a darker ritual, I'm not even going to, it don't necessarily got to be satanic. It's just a darker ritual. You had to write out a deed to Satan, who at that point was called the Prince of Darkness. I know I'm getting a little extra on this video. You know, talking about drugs and shamans and medicine, man. But like, we just getting personal, right? So, end of 2013, I did the satanic ritual. From that satanic ritual, here I am, the introduction to the YouTube channel, right? That's it. So, in a nutshell, that's my transition. All right? So, by me having no fear, I just kept with it because that's when it presented a lot of challenges. See, it wasn't easy. It's not like I did a ritual, then the next day, shit started popping off. It didn't work like that. It was very, very complicated. It was very hard. Relationships was ended. You know what I mean? You know, money was definitely lost. Transitions, like I had to go through all of that stuff. You know what I mean? What up? You know, a deed, yeah, it's like you write out a deed. I talked about this in my video, satanic rituals or whatever the fuck, witchcraft and satanic rituals, like a 2-hour live. I wrote out a deed. So, for example, I don't know the exact words, but the deed went something like, I call upon the Prince of Darkness to fulfill my desires and, you know, that typical stuff, right? So you basically making a petition to the Prince of Darkness, who, you know, Satan or Darth Vader, whoever you want to call it, right? Peace. So, with that being said, from that point on, so I'm not saying the ritual did something for me at that particular moment, because again, like I said, I started to make my YouTube videos because shit was getting real. Like, you go all the way back to 2013 and watch my very first videos. No, my very first videos was binaural beats or isochronic tones. So sometimes when you look at my channel, sometimes I upload isochronic tones, right? So I was doing that at first. So like my first couple videos was isochronic tones. But when I actually started to speak was December of 2013. Now, I've been speaking on what was going on. Because what happened to me personally is after I did that ritual, it opened up a portal. Because every time I would go in that room, you would feel a presence that you didn't feel before. But it's a story behind that as well. Because I moved into a house number 7. For everybody who know about the house numbers, you know, number 7 is the dark side of the moon. It's the most spiritual number. You know, that's the number you connect with the. That's actually the household I was under when I became interested in all these spiritual practices. My grandparents had a house number that added up to the number 7. It was 8431. That was their address, which adds up to a 7. And it was in that household that I first learned about like meditation and, you know, like the Eastern philosophy. Because I saw a documentary. I can't recall the guy's name, but that guy had died that year. It was 2009. One of the gurus died in 2009. And they was doing a documentary of their life. And I'm just flicking through the channels. You know, I'm a kid. Like, I'm 18 at this time. Just flicking through the channels for whatever reason that caught my attention. And from then on, I went home, started doing my research about it, and I arrived at a conclusion like, okay, if I'm trying to manifest in my mind, I have to do some shit every day. So what I started to do every day, at 4 a.m., I meditated for an hour every day. And I built a home in my mind in LA. I'm going to be in LA and I'm going to build a home for myself. So every day at 4 a.m., in my mind, I would construct a house, which I still have firmly in my mind. That's just how deep I was thinking about it. I like to precise detail type shit. Like precise, like I know the color of the fucking rug. I know the pattern of the fucking rug. I know where the couch is. I know where the TV is. I know how the kitchen look. I know the floor I'm looking down at shit. Like I literally constructed a house in my mind. And not long after that, that's when I got the phone call that I got a free ticket to LA. That's just what the fuck happened. You know, I had family already out there, and we was already having talks of me coming out there, but nobody really had the money. So, one day, they actually did get the money up. They was going to deposit it in the bank, but the bank teller didn't take the money. That's what actually happened. The homie went to the bank to deposit the money for the ticket. The bank teller didn't even take the fucking money. Now, when the fuck does that happen, right? So, needless to say, I got a free ticket to LA. One way, and that's it. You know, my LA journey started. Now, I can be on here all fucking day. If I want to go through my whole LA experience or the whole Vegas experience, I'll be on this motherfucker all day. I just want to give a brief introduction into this little details that helped me develop into the mindset. So I think that's all I had to say. Now, unless anybody has any more questions, because we can do a quick tarot reading to see what the spirits has to say about all this, and we can get up out of here. Sounds good to me, so I'm going to shuffle up these cards. Going to pull a couple cards, and we going to get up out of here. All right. One second here. Let me see what. Alright, fuck it. I'll just leave that beat on. Alright. So to finish this all up, let's see what the tarot says. Just draw some random cards. So, wow. First card. What do you fucking know, right? The Three of Disc. Let me make sure I get a good slow. Y'all can really see this. Alright. So, what does this mean? Works. Now, what is works? So, we've been talking about this whole time, right? Putting in that work. The only way to achieve results is to put in that work. Whether it's that mental work, the spiritual work, and the physical work. All at the same time. They start off separate. The mind, the spirit, and the body, they start off separate because you have to do separate things to get these on point. Like you have to do your Tai Chi and you work out to get the body on point. You meditate and you do mantras and you just do mental exercises to get your mind sharper. And once that opens up the spiritual realm for you, then that's a whole nother world to explore in and of itself, whether it be through your dreams or through visions or whatever your particular I don't want to say power, I'll say ability is. Some people have vision, they can see things visually, some people hear things, some people feel things, etc., etc. So first card is definitely about the works, and that's why it's 3. The body, the mind, and the spirit, or the soul. 3 separate things, but they all work in unison. And that's the true work. So the true works is combining all 3 realities into one science. To the point where there is no separation. And when there is no separation, that's when it starts to cause these ripples. So you see these ripples that it's causing. Once this motherfucker is on point, and that's why they look as wheels. These wheels start turning. So you got your body's on point doing that Tai Chi, building up the Chi, building up the prana, doing your cardio, whatever it is, getting your body on point, getting your mind on point, doing those mental exercises. So you got these wheels spinning, getting your meditation on point. You know what I mean? Doing mathematical equations in your mind and just being street smart. Boom, boom, boom. And that's going to open up the spiritual and you get those wheels turning. That's when the dream interpretations, the clairvoyance, you know, so on and so forth. Those type of abilities start to develop, you know, your auras and all that. So when you combine all three of the realities, it creates these ripples. And that's the wave reality. Remember, we talk about the particle reality and the wave reality. That's why it looks like waves. So that means it's talking about a subconscious thing. Alright? The subconscious moves in waves. The conscious moves in particles. Alright? If you can remember that simple truth, everything else will be easy to remember. So let's see what we got here next. Boom. What is this? The 10 of Wands. Oppression. Alright, let's get a close look at this. Alright. Now obviously if we know what this symbol is, it's a Saturn, right? And that's Sagittarius. See, what I like about this deck is it's going to show you all the symbols, right? So it's going to give you the meaning of the card, and it's going to give you the planetary aspects, and it's going to give you the number that it resonates with on the tree of life. So we know 10 is Malkuth, if you study the Kabbalah. Malkuth is the kingdom or the earthly plane or the physical plane, right? So that's number 10. That's the final destination. So why is this oppression? Why is the 10 of Wands oppression? It's oppression because, again, when we look at Saturn, Saturn is all about limitations, or the number 8. So Saturn shows you your limitations. So for some people, because they may have this alignment, you know, some people may have their Saturn in Sagittarius and it kind of contradicts itself. Excuse me. What do I mean by that? So Saturn is about limitations and Sagittarius is all about expressing yourself, expressing these flames. So you can say the Sagittarius in this card is the flame in the background. And the Saturn on this card is these two spears that's blocking the expression of the Sagittarius energy. That's what the oppression. So the Sagittarius energy, and for those of you who are Sagittarius, then you know it's just all about that fire. It's all about that energy. It's all about that excitement. It's just all about that raw feel. So when you can't do that, because Saturn has been put in place to limit your power, but just to show you your limitations, not to slow you down particularly, but to show you your limitations. With great power comes great responsibility. That's saying, that's what this is. With great power comes great responsibility. So you can't just, after you got this shit spinning, right? You got your shit spinning, it's going to start sizzling up this fire, right? But you have to put principles and discipline to tame the fire. That's what it is. So once your shit start cooking up, and you also see this is Mars as well. So if you see this symbol is Mars. So Mars is, of course, the fire planet. So although you see waves, it's still dealing with fire. It's the fire. It's fire behind these waves that's creating that motion. Fire is creating that motion. So that fire that's creating that motion, it has to be restrained so that it can take form. Because remember, we're talking about 10, Malkuth. It's talking about the kingdom. It's talking about the physical reality. So in order for these fires to take place, they have to go through Saturn. Or again, that's what we are. Like the body is Saturn. The physical plane is Saturn. Because we're limited here. You're unlimited in the spirit realm. But physically, you're limited. You know, you're going to get hungry. You're going to get thirsty. You know what I mean? Bills is coming around. So we are oppressed in a physical sense. But spiritually, we are unlimited. So just to understand that difference is to understand that certain things are reserved for the spirit realm. And there's certain things that are especially for this realm. Like, for example, you can be as dark and sinister in your mind as you want. But you know, like, all right, I'm not going to actually physically do these things. because I'm going to end up in fucking jail or it's going to cause unnecessary beef. So sometimes, you know, those sick and twisted thoughts power you up, but it's not for you to translate that into a physical action. What do I mean by that? I mean, there are certain thoughts that you can think that excite you. For certain people, that may be sexual thoughts. For other people, it may be thoughts about making more money, so on and so forth, right? So whatever it is that stimulates you, you can think. Whatever you can think that stimulates you, that's what I'm talking about. That's these fires in the back. It's those thoughts that stimulate you, that get you excited, that get you feeling puts you in a certain space. But those thoughts sometimes are limited to the spirit realm and should not be expressed physically. They still may excite you internally, but you keep it there because it's for you to build up that energy. You think those thoughts to build up the energy, not to express the actual thought, but to get yourself in a certain state of mind, and you apply that to whatever it is that you're actually doing. So if it takes for you to think about sick, twisted, and sinister thoughts to power you up and get you motivated to do what you actually need to do, that's how it works. So you use those internal fires to recognize your limitations and to recognize your responsibility so that it doesn't get out of hand. Right? What's next? The Five of Swords, defeat. Now, what does this have to do with anything? This is all about nostalgia. This is all about staying in the past, which is we all deal with this to some extent. Where let me give you a closer look at this. It's about being trapped in the past. What do I mean by that? You know, we all know, like, you can have those nostalgic moments, whether it be a past relationship or a family member or a friend or whatever. We start, having these nostalgic thoughts in it. Sometimes it make you feel good. Sometimes it makes you feel good to think about the good old days or the good times, right? So it actually can be constructive, right? If you use it properly. And the reason why it's called defeat is this an example of it not being used properly. Meaning you get into those nostalgic feelings so deeply that you don't want to move forward. You start trying to get back with your fucking ex. Or you start trying to do the type of shit you was doing years ago that may have worked, but it's not going to work today. It's that type of shit. So when you allow your nostalgic thoughts, to determine where you're moving forward to, that's what causes defeat. When you're supposed to be moving forward, but you're constantly moving backwards about what has happened or, what should happen, what could happen, just being all in your thoughts. Not paying attention to actual reality where you're supposed to be creating your reality. You can't be creating your reality still stuck in the past, still mad at the fucking bitch that broke your heart or the fucking nigga that fucking did you wrong. Shit fucking happens. But, sometimes it's hard to get over certain shit. Somebody asked me a question. Can tarot cards be wrong sometimes, or is it all a message? It's definitely all an interpretation. Like, somebody else can pull these same cards and have a completely different interpretation than I have. However, that's what makes the tarot what it is, because it's not just about one definite message. It's all about where you are in your spirituality. See, depending on where you are in your spirituality, you may just be able to look at this and say defeat. You may not know how to connect it with the swords or the 5. What's the number 5 on the tree of life or the Kabbalah and all that. So there's many different levels to interpretation. And it's all about how many levels do you want to explore. in your interpretation. So I can go as deep as I want with the card, but just stand on the surface. That's why, you know, I'm just pulling a random card. But as you see, there is roses. Rose petals that are broken, if y'all didn't notice that before. Appreciate that, male. Right? That's what the nostalgia is for. That's why it's broken roses. Broken rose petals, right? That's what keep motherfucker defeated. Right? Basic shit. Let's see what else we got. Boom. Adjustment, which is basically Libra. This is a Hebrew letter, Lamed or Lamed, Lamed. And obviously you see the Libra sign right here. Before the Libra was the scales, it was a goat. So before the Libras was a scale, it was a goat. And this is Lamed. So it's like a snake. Right? It looked like a snake. What this means is, it means connecting the mind to the heart. So that's why you have, you know, you got a line on the top, a line at the bottom. It's connecting the mind with the heart, or the brain with the heart. That's what the adjustment is. That's why you see the scales. Let me let y'all see a little closer. So you see this is a multi-dimensional card. But everything is connected. So obviously you see the scales right here is hanging from this. But then you see shapes within this scale. Right? See it. Boy, you see that triangle, you see this. Then you see the woman who's holding the sword, but then you see, obviously it's all type of shit going on here that just bends your mind. But the purpose of this card is, as we were talking about here, you get defeated by being too much in the past and not being constructive. That's when it calls for an adjustment. It calls for an adjustment because in order to not do this, in order to not be defeated, and in order to not feel oppressed, you adjust. Now, what is it that you're adjusting? And that's what goes into this. It's your mind and your heart. Are you following your brain, or are you following your heart? Now, of course, we've all heard this saying, right? Follow your heart. 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 Follow your heart, right? We've heard this since we were kids. But there's very, 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 very few people who actually live out that lifestyle. Because you're like, okay, I'm an adult now. I have to be responsible. I have to do certain things. I don't have time to do this other shit anymore, which is false. Because as we see, I can use my personal self as an example. I started off using Yu-Gi-Oh cards. That was my divination when I was younger. That was my form of divination. That shit translated into tarot cards. Had I not ever been trained with Yu-Gi-Oh cards and how that shit works, I would never understand this. I would not even be attracted to cards. So Yu-Gi-Oh cards turned into tarot cards. Evolution. Alright? And that's what I mean. That's the adjustment. So you see the higher worlds and you see the lower worlds. Right? The higher worlds and lower worlds. They are all one. They are all the same. Alright? Give me 1 second here. See if I can put on some more fucking interesting music. Alright, we back. We'll pull a couple more cards and get up out of here. You know what I mean? So we're just going to play the outro music, but I'm going to pull a couple more cards and we'll get up out of here. Next card. Salute, salute, salute. Thank you, thank you. The next card is the Hangman. Alright? Give you a closer look. Now you see there's a lot going on in this motherfucking card. But just to name a couple symbols. You notice the upside down triangle is the water element. So the upward triangle is the fire, the downward triangle is water, then the upward triangle with the line through it is air, and the downward triangle with the line across it is water. Or not water, earth. So this particular triangle is water. So you see the waters, you see the snake in the water. His consciousness is being projected into the water. His hands is nailed. And you see orbs around his hand. And you see the orb around his feet. His leg is in a right angle. His other leg is hanging from the cross, which is emanating from the sun. And this background image, you can say, is his reality. Now, what the fuck does all this have to do? This is about transmutation. Inversion, because I recommend that as well. Inversion. Right? When you stand on your head, you start to have revelations because you're putting pressure on your crown chakra. And when you put pressure on your crown chakra, what does it do? It spins up those atoms and it changes that atomic structure of the atoms within you, which upgrade their level. Right? But we ain't got to get into all that. But this is just goes to show that it's also a snake around this foot as well. So you see it's a lot of snakes. And we know snakes represent sexual energy. So it's a lot of snakes here. He's upside down, and obviously it's an upside down Ankh. Why is the Ankh upside down? The Ankh is upside down and he's hanging from the Ankh instead of holding the Ankh or some shit like that, which you would normally see. Normally see motherfuckers holding the Ankh. You don't really see it upside down, emanating from the tip. So the emanation is coming from the tip instead of this. This is just, it's holding him to that. So you can say his only connection to the cosmic source is through that Ankh. And his only connection to that Ankh is he just hanging on with it with his foot. You can say that's our situation. Trying to connect with the supreme intelligence, right? Connected with nature, whatever people want to call it, right? It seems as if we're only connected through the foot in terms of we're in an artificial environment. So we have to do extra shit just to do basic shit or normal shit, right? It's normal to go outside and walk in nature and, connect with the spirit and all that. It's regular shit, but because of the artificial reality we're in, regular shit becomes sacred, or it becomes something that's harder to do than it should be. So, with this image, so we're still connected to the cosmic source, even if we're just hanging on by our feet. The connection is still there. So he still is connected. And that connection is emanating in his consciousness, projecting his thoughts into the water, which is causing the snake to turn and coil up in the water. Now, we can go into what the fuck that means. But, we'll save the secrets for another time. See what else we got here. Luxury. The Four of Cups. Luxury. Obviously, you see the moon here. So this is a lunar card. And you see the Cancer. So again, it's more water here. So if we look at these waters, it's through that transmutation of him being upside down, still connected to his cosmic source, him having his body at a right angle. Because you see these, so you got these points here. His body is in a certain angle, and he's projecting his thoughts into this water, which is causing the snake to heat up. See, your thoughts cause things to heat up. So his thoughts is causing the snake to heat up. And through the heating up of that snake, he's creating luxury. The luxury is created from you heating up the atoms in your body. That's why you do the martial arts. It heats up the atoms in your body so that they change form. So it goes from him hanging upside down. When he actually changed the form, he's going from being a hanged man to a man of luxury. Right? because we're dealing with the waters. Water holds information. Water can be programmed. So he's programming this water with his mind. His mind is programming the water, which is causing the snake to do his thing. And now it causes these waters to fall. Alright? Luxury. Why is that luxury? Meaning when your body is loose and when you're flexible, that's luxury. That's what this is talking about. Because remember, the body is mostly water. Since the body is mostly water, that means when we move, we're constantly moving waters. So when you're not really moving, it's like you have stale waters in your body. That's why you also drink a lot of water, to constantly be cleaning your body. So by us being mostly water, if we want a luxurious experience in life, that means we have to keep our waters pure. In order to keep our waters pure, that's why basically that everything I talk about on this channel, you know, the inversion, the meditation, the spiritual exercises, the Tai Chi, the martial arts. That's how you keep your waters clean. Obviously, you see those clear waters in the background. These waves, right? The water are actually waves. It's forming waves, right? So, if you want to have a luxurious consciousness or a luxurious experience, you have to keep your waters moving. So the waters or the blood in your body, you have to keep it moving. You have to keep it cleansed. So the better state your blood is in, the cleaner your blood, the more luxurious your experience on this plane is. Because the better health you're in on the physical plane, the more you can do. The better you think, the clearer you think, the better your attitude. All this is based on the state of your blood. So if you keep your waters cleansed and pure, you can keep yourself in that type of consciousness naturally. That's why it's important, you know, your water. Keep your waters pure. Alright? Let's see what else we got. The Three of Wands, virtue. Right? Because like we were just saying here, when you keep those waters moving, it upgrades your consciousness. And from that upgrade of consciousness, you start to gain your virtue. So this is more so pure energy. So you see the top, this is the sun. So let me give you a closer look. And you see this is Aries. So the sun in Aries. So going through this transmutation phase and cleansing your waters, now you get your energy. It generates energy. So you constantly being on the move and being on point is going to generate energy, which is generating virtue. This what allows you to be multidimensional. That's why you see three. They all represent a particular type of dimension. Body, mind, and spirit, once again. Right? That's a virtue. Now you got virtue of the body, which is the abundance of energy. The virtue of mind, which is clarity in your thinking and it's not clouded. And you have virtue in your spirit, which allows you to have access to the spirit realm or the metaphysical realm or the quantum realm and understand how all this stuff works. You know what I mean? Hell yeah, I'm still alive. I'm still going. See, I'll be cutting this shit off early to give y'all some time to reflect on what's being said. I can fucking talk for hours. But every video doesn't need for me to pack all this information in, but this just so happens to be a video. I'm going to pack a lot of information in this motherfucker. Let's continue. Oh yeah, it's definitely Scorpio season. My birthday is on the 18th. So, you know what I mean? Feel free to show love if you got me on Facebook or Instagram. It's pretty much where I'm at. It's either Facebook or Instagram. For now. Instagram is Lord Asar. Facebook is Asharenu. So email is Lord Asar to LORDASAR@gmail.com. That's also the Instagram, and the Facebook is asharenu. You know what I mean? Just continue forward. The Queen of Swords. Alright, let's give a closer look at this. Now, what does this card mean? So you see she had decapitated somebody's head, and her crown chakra is exalted as well. So she's in the clouds because the Kundalini has rose up, like we were talking about here, right? Okay. Saposexual69, just send me an email and we can figure it out. LORDASAR right? So yeah, you want to talk to me personally, hit up the email. So she's in the clouds because her Kundalini, yeah, Lord Asar, Brandon, that is correct. The Kundalini has rose, and it has exalted the crown chakra, right? So the only thing that remains of the physical intelligence for her is a decapitated head. If you're familiar with the goddess Kali, she has the decapitated heads around her neck. So if you type in Kali, Kali, you're going to see her. She's a very black goddess with heads around her neck. So you see she has a sword and she has decapitated a head. The head is just her old self, a previous version of herself which she has destroyed and she has transmuted into what she is here. So she transmuted this head to this head. For those who need a closer look, she cut this head off, the physical, the limitations has been cut off. Now she sits on her throne of clouds with the Kundalini woken up. So this, raising up that Kundalini, that virtue, puts you in this state of mind where you can have a throne on the clouds. Not physically, of course, but you can mentally be in a space where you're clear. And you know you have sharp insight and you have a sharp mind. That's what the sword is all about. The swords is all about the mind, having your mind sharp. So through the rising of that Kundalini, you can create a throne in the clouds or your astral temple, the world that you have created in your own mind. This is a mental reality she's created with her own mind, and this just represents her old self that limited her, like, oh, you can't do this, you can't be that, whatever. So these are the old limiting thoughts that have been decapitated, beheaded, and now she's exalted on her throne, topless. You know what I mean? Got the titties out and all that shit. That's just how much she feel herself. Ain't even putting on no fucking shirt. You know what I mean? The warrior goddess, you know, she cutting off heads. So, what else? Six of Swords, science. Right? Now, I talked about this card last time, but I'm not going to use the same interpretation. So peep game. So the same cards can come up, but I'm not going to use the same analogy. Now, being on your cloud of thorns, clouds, being on your throne of clouds, this becomes scientific in nature. What do I mean? So now, this is more than just mere spiritual exercise and spiritual practice. This becomes scientific, meaning that's when your magic becomes scientific. That's when you get to that phase when you realize, all right, I'm not just doing a bunch of hoo-ha. No, that's not, hold on. Let me see if I can do something. Hold on. Okay. It's Asaria. A-S-A-R. No U. A-S-A-R. So it's 8 letters. L-O-R-D A-S-A-R. So just remember it like that. A-S-A-R-L-O-R-D. Lord Asar. A-S-A-R. So now getting back to this. This when you get to a level where you realize that, okay, I'm creating these sigils, and I'm constructing these altars, working with these crystals, working these mantras in my mind, doing all these martial arts. You start to come to the conclusion, right? Oh, this is scientific in nature. This is not just me thinking so out of the box that I've lost touch with reality. That you like, yo, I've thought so far out the box that I actually reconnected with the real reality, which is spiritual in nature. And I'm no longer limited to this 3D box realm of illusion. Your works become scientific. Because now you see we're dealing with Mercury. That's the symbol for Mercury. And Mercury is all about the mind, the number 5. Right? New information, new technology, being active. You know what I mean? Number 5 is all about energy. It's just pure energy. Start breaking down people's life. If you really want to know how the numbers manifest outside of house numbers, just look up your favorite artists. Break down their name and see what number it comes up to. And you will see why certain energies resonate with certain artists have certain styles. For example, we'll just use hip hop very briefly. People like Jay-Z and Nas, both of their names break down to the number 7, which is the number of God, which is all about that pen. It's definitely the number. If you're a writer and you're trying to work the pen, definitely number 7 is the number of the writer. So somebody like Jay-Z, what does he say? I don't write anything down. I do it all in my head. Right? Mercury. No, not their real name. What their real name is more so would be their persona outside of rap, which you really don't know. So I'm talking about the rap name. So when it comes to their particular style, you get what I'm saying? When it comes to their style of rap and what they talk about and how they talk about what they talk about. Right? So that's what I mean. So somebody like Jay-Z, whose name breaks down to a number 7, he understood that this is not just about writing, it's about the mind, it's about memorization. He perfected his memory. That's the next level. So when like, all right, am I gonna write this down or am I gonna perfect my memory? He chose to perfect his memory. Whereas Nas, Lil Wayne doesn't write anything either, but you do it. If you know your numerology, what does Lil Wayne break down to? And we'll be able to see. And if you don't know it, just say you don't know and I'll do it for you. But Nas, on the other hand, actually does write his music, but his lyrics are still superb. So you have somebody like Jay-Z who doesn't write with supreme lyrics, but then you have somebody like Nas who does write, but has just the amount of supreme lyrics. You can't say one is necessarily better or other. It's more about preference, but they both have perfected their pens. They both are prolific writers. One person just actually writes it down, the other person doesn't. But nonetheless, they're still both legends. And that's what I mean. Everybody don't have the ability to memorize everything in their mind. Some people need to write their shit down, but that doesn't mean that you're less than an artist because you still write. Because some people feel like that, well, I can't write because it's like, I don't have time to do all that shit. You can still put the pen to the paper and think of some prolific rhymes. Now, going back to the Lil Wayne, because somebody said they don't know how to break it down. Every letter has a number. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, so on and so forth, all the way till you get to Z, which is 26, right? 15 is, O. 7 is G. I'm just throwing out some randoms. 18 is R. You know what I mean? So, just going to the Lil Wayne, let's just see what his name breaks down to very briefly. So, you got L-I-L. L is 12, I is 9, L is 12. So, obviously 12 comes to 1 plus 2 equal 3. So, you got 3 plus 18, well, not 18, 9, which is the I, which is the ninth letter is I. Then you got another 3. So, you got 3 plus 9. You can take out the 9 because 9 just becomes whatever number it's adding up to. So, right, 33, that gives you 6. Now, Wayne, W is 23, which breaks down to 5. Then you got A, which is 1. Now you got 6. You got N, which is 14, which is 5. 6 plus 5 is 11. 1 plus 1 is 2, right? Then you got the Y, which is 7, or 25. So you got 7 plus 2, which is 9. And lastly is the E, which is 5. So Lil Wayne is 5. Who else is a 5? Right off the top of my dome, Bobby Shmurda. If you break down Bobby Shmurda, the dude that did Hot Nigga. And he's a number 5 too. So Wayne breaks down to a number 5, which is what? Mercury. Number 5 is Mercury. So there again, you have somebody who doesn't write, but who has prolific rhymes. But the difference between a Jay-Z, a Nas, and a Lil Wayne is what? What's the difference between Jay-Z, Nas? Well, you can put them into the same category. The difference between a Lil Wayne versus a Jay-Z or a Nas is energy. What do I mean? When you listen to Nas rhyme, or when you listen to Jay rhyme, they're pretty laid back. Right? They're pretty laid back, calm, cool, collective. You know what I mean? They spit their rhymes, technical. Wayne is more, you can say, more energetic with his delivery. His delivery is a lot more powerful than a Jay-Z or a Nas. He has a more powerful delivery because that's the number 5. Number 5 is all about pure energy. So although he has a prolific pen, his delivery is more profound than a Jay-Z or a Nas. Not to say that they can't be on that level, but they're more so of just being lyrical. And, having a point, a message in their music, then boom. Whereas Lil Wayne, he can mix the, the conscious with the unconscious. Somebody said, what's the song in the back? This is an old breakdance song. This is from probably the fucking 80s. This is called, what the fuck is this called? Let me see. I'll give you the title right now. It's called Funky Little Beat by Connie. C-O-N-N-I-E. So type in Connie, Funky Little Beat. And that's what that is. So yeah, I got all type of shit. You know what I mean? I'll be breakdancing. I'll be doing all type. Let's get back to the tarot though. You know what I mean? Yeah, we still going. We 2 hours in. I'm just getting started. We just getting started. But, I'm not going to keep y'all too much longer. Do a couple more cards and get up out of here. So now we got the 5 of disc, which is worry. And obviously you see the inverted pentagram here. For those who know what that is. Give you a closer look. And you see, this is also Mercury. You look right there. That's also Mercury. Same symbol as this. Right? So now we're dealing with Mercury on the flip side of it. See, let's compare these two. See, Mercury and the suit of swords is good because, right, Mercury is all about the mind. Right? So Mercury and the suit of swords works well because it's working with the mind. It's working with thought. So Mercury in its natural element is thought. So that's why this is a constructive card. But when you put Mercury with Earth, which stagnates or slows down Mercury, because now it's an earthy sign, and the earth signs move a lot slower than the air signs. So when the air signs like Mercury, or which is a planet, but obviously it's air signs, Mercury in an earth sign slows it down and it creates worry. So that's why you see it's like the earth is breaking apart and you see the lava. All right, and give you a closer look. So it's like a bunch of plates that are cracked and breaking, and you see the lava that's coming from the background. Now, what does this have to do with worry? Because worry is overthinking, right? And that's what Mercury does. See, when Mercury is slowed down, it tends to overthink without putting in enough action. More thinking than doing. So with the more thinking than doing, when it's actually time to do, now you move out of worry. So let's go back to this. When your spirituality becomes scientific and you make that connection, that there is no separation between science and spirituality, they are one and the same. The worry comes from, as you see, it's the inverted pentagram in the middle. The worry comes from, because the inverted pentagram basically represents the physical plane, right? Channeling energy on and downwardly, or negatively, or femininely, is channeling the energy downward instead of it being a star pointed upward. So it's bringing energy down instead of sending energy up. Because it's bringing energy down, meaning your thoughts are overthinking, because it's in a earth sign, it's stagnated. So the thoughts is moving at hyperspeed. Your thoughts is moving at hyperspeed, but your body is sluggish. So you're not able to keep up with your thoughts. Your body can't keep up with your thoughts because your thoughts is at hyperspeed because it's Mercury. But Mercury in the earth sign stagnates the progression, which makes your body sluggish. And when it makes you sluggish, you begin to worry because now it's like you can't keep up with your thoughts. And when you can't keep up with your thoughts, that's where the worry comes from. So overthinking is basically you just thinking too much and you can't back it up with the body. That's why the body is important. That's why the martial arts is important, so that your body can keep up with the speed of your thoughts. Not that it's going to be the exact speed of your thoughts, but when it's time to do something, you can do it because you're already in shape to handle whatever you need to handle. Instead of trying to do this and trying to do that, you're already in shape so you can make whatever happen. So the worry comes from your thoughts moving too fast and your body not being able to take that amount of pressure, and it starts to break and split. But that's the body not being able to handle the amount of thoughts coming at it, and it begins to break and separate. And that's what creates the worry. All right? Make enough sense? All right. And we'll do one more card. I'm pretty sure y'all get the point by now. I wanted to explain my perspective, then allow the cards to further elaborate on what was being said. So the last card will be, what do you know? The Fool. And obviously, you can say this can be another card. Well, I wouldn't say it's another card from Mercury. It's definitely an air card. You see, there's a lot going on here. Now, let me break this down. Yeah, this definitely is a good card to end with because there's a lot going on here. So as you can see, let me give you a close look. So you see the Fool, as I explained in a previous video, the only two cards that touch Kether, which is illumination on the Tree of Life. The only two paths that touch Kether is the magician and the fool. Right? They say God saves babies and fools. Right? So you can say this. The fool is somebody who doesn't know. Somebody who's ignorant. Like a child. You just are not aware of certain things due to your growth and development. But you still have divine protection. Then you have the magician, who has become scientific in his thinking or her thinking. They have become scientific in their thinking, and they are able to reach enlightenment using spiritual and scientific means instead of like a child being able to be in that frequency naturally, but couldn't explain it to you. So the magician could explain the process to you, whereas a child couldn't. This is just what a child is naturally, but they couldn't explain it to you. So in this card, you got a lot going on. You see, you got a tiger over here biting his leg, but he's unaffected because he's in the spirit realm. He's so far into the spirit realm that he doesn't feel the tiger clawing at him. He don't even feel it. You also have an alligator right here. You also have the bird. You have the bird making these spirals, which stop at the heart. Or no, you more so have this. Let me show you a closer look at that. A caduceus is more of a caduceus here. More of a caduceus. But this is a dove. Butterfly. Grapes. He's holding fire. Here, what's he holding in his other hand? You can say it's ice. So ice in one hand, fire in the other hand. Got grapes, you can say, which resonates with like a Dionysus energy, like somebody who's a drunken state or a trance state. Which when you look at his face, he's definitely in a trance state. Look at the face, and you see he has horns. Like a child can be very mischievous. So you got the horns letting you know that, he knows what he's doing. But, then anyway, without getting too deep into that. And lastly, you got the sun in that particular spot. All right? Kundalini. So that means the Kundalini is at the base of the spine. Still, as a fool. So the fool also has a Kundalini, but it naturally rises. See, all this that's happening here, all that's happening in this card is what we are all naturally capable of. But as we get older, we have to find scientific and methods to get back to this state, whereas children is here naturally. So you can say this is like heaven on earth, where you may have problems, but they don't affect you. The tiger biting them is not affecting them. Nothing that's going on here is affecting them. He's just in heaven. They just in heaven doing their thing. So their mind is in heaven. So what's going on in the spiritual is being reflected in the physical. So he got all these dynamics going on. Again, he's holding fire. He's holding ice. He's getting bit by an alligator. His Kundalini is right there rising. He got this caduceus spinning, ending up where his heart is, his heart chakra. Right? So this is some crazy shit, right? Who the fuck is holding fire and ice? Getting bit by a fucking tiger and not feeling that shit. Other than somebody who's just gone. You gotta be gone to be holding fire and ice and unaffected. Like, that's how deep a trance state can be, though. That's the point of this. The point of this is you can achieve a trance state so deep that the world, you can be against all odds and still be successful. And to me, that's the situation we all in anyway. We against all odds. You got a system that's up against you. You got a lifestyle that's up against you. You got family and friends who's not really with you. Right? It's like it's you against the world anyway. In the real world, it's you against the world. So with that being said, what takes you out of that, from, the crabs in the barrel mentality, as they say, what takes you out of that crabs in the barrel mentality is getting into a trance state, getting into your spirituality. So all that shit don't matter. So now you holding fire, you holding ice, you getting fucked up by everything possible, but you still are focused. And you ain't stopping. Do we look like he's about to stop what he's doing? Because this motherfucker is biting his leg? Or because he's holding fire or he's holding ice? It actually doesn't even affect him. It just doesn't affect him because he's so deep into a trance state where he is creating from his mind. So, without getting too complicated, because you can explain this forever. But that's what it means, being so deep into a trance state where the physical reality doesn't affect you and it doesn't bend you, so it starts to bend to your will. When the physical reality can't bend you, it will bend for you. Simple as that. So if you can keep that in mind, everything else makes sense. If the physical reality can't bend and break you and twist you up and all that, and just have its way with you, then you are allowed to have your way with it. But again, it's just like anything else in nature. It's like anything else in nature. Either you're going to submit or something else is going to submit to you. If you come in contact with a lion right now that's not in a cage, what do you think is going to happen? Either you're going to submit to the lion and let it eat your ass, or you have to tame that lion. There's no in between. There is no, we're going to live at peace amongst each other. No, you're not. You either got to tame that lion or kill that lion. Or that lion is going to tame and kill your ass. But that's anything in nature. Nature is not going to bend over backwards because you want it to. You must be deserving. And you become deserving by developing that discipline, which we've been talking about the whole video. When you develop that discipline, that real life discipline, to the point where this shit just doesn't bother you. It's pretty busy in this car, but it don't fuck with you because you have discipline now. You got the spiritual, mental, and the physical discipline to not allow the bullshit to fuck with you. And when you have developed that type of discipline, it don't matter what's going on around you. You're able to black out, go into a trance state, create from your thought, which allows you to feel better about what's going on around you, and you're able to raise the vibration of your environment. Right? So let's just say you in a fucked up environment, whether it's outside, whether it's inside, family, friends, whatever. You're able to go into a trance state, black out from this physical place, go into your astral temple, gain energy from it, then come back here with a whole different state of mind and charged up with new energy. And you may just like, yo, shit, I just want to fucking clean up. I want this house to be fucking spotless. I want to go outside and fucking spread love or fucking smoke my weed or do whatever the fuck, right? So it's a technique that we all can utilize at some point. When things just start to seem overwhelming, you can always black out, recharge, come back, handle the problem. That's why everybody says go within. All the answers are within. That's basically what it's talking about. Going within is entering into a trance state and being able to communicate directly with your subconscious mind. It's like having a conversation, your conscious mind having a conversation with your subconscious mind. And when you have a conversation with your subconscious mind, it's able to give you feedback on what's going on around you. Or word, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. Give you pointers that maybe things that you didn't even think about. And you're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Let me do that. Intuition, waking up with inspiration, waking up fully recharged and regenerated with energy. That's why, it's good to use sleep aids. For example, you may want to go to sleep listening to binaural beats or isochronic tones or somebody, that relaxes you or whatever, so that you can go into those trance states. And if you miss the trance state, you set your alarm. That's what you do. So let's just say you go to bed at 9 p.m. You fall asleep listening to ASMR or binaural beats, isochronic tones, or whatever you do to use a sleep aid. Let's just say you fall asleep without getting in tune with your dreams. You set the alarm maybe an hour and a half later so you can wake up if you did fall asleep. Then you can start your spiritual work. See, a lot of people try to do their spiritual work at their bedtime. But most of the time you miss your golden moments because you don't really register the time that in between, say, when you're awake and sleep. You be so relaxed laying down in your bed or whatever, you don't really feel when you have entered into that cloudy-like state where you actually can do things now that you couldn't do when you wasn't in a trance state. But when you set an alarm, so just in case you missed that golden opportunity, now you have another chance instead of having to wait all the way to the next night. And that's what I mean. So let's just say you set 3 or 4 alarms. So let's just say you set 3 alarms, but you got to be willing to break your sleep up. Most people ain't willing to break up their sleep. But when you're really putting in this work, you understand how important it is for you to be in tune with what's going on in your subconscious mind through observing and recording your dreams. This is how you get insight into what your next move may be, what you're doing wrong, what you're doing right, what more you should be doing. This is all your mind processing everything that you're going through, and it's giving you feedback, your emotional state, all that. So when you observe your dreams, it's like you were observing your emotional state, you were observing your mind, you were observing all the information that you've been intaking all day. But when you go to sleep, you're not just going to sleep and resting your body. Your consciousness is still awake. You just don't remember what was going on. So our consciousness never sleeps. Our consciousness, just like your heart doesn't stop pumping because you go to sleep. It's the same thing with consciousness. It's just all about developing that memory, that's why I mentioned Jay-Z earlier. It's about developing that memory. When you develop that memory, you can easily recall your dreams and your spiritual experiences and have more spiritual experiences because you're developing your memory. When you develop your memory, you may not have to write down your dreams, but before you develop your memory, you may need to keep a pen or pad by you. You know what I mean? To properly record as much as you can. The reason why we don't remember it, not only because you secrete DMT when you sleep, and that just makes things more profound, and it makes the experience forgettable. Like, you can wake up, and 5 minutes after you wake up, you don't remember what you were just dreaming about. You remember the moment you opened your eyes, maybe, or the moment your consciousness re-entered your body, but you don't remember 5 minutes later. It's because that's just how sacred it is. See, that's what most people don't understand. Most of the time, you don't remember your dreams after you get up because it's sacred. You're dealing with pure ether. You're dealing with pure spirit. So your consciousness is in the etheric realm. So once your consciousness goes back to this 3D realm, it has nothing to do with what's going on in the ethers. So it's easy to easily forget it because it's like pure. It's like sand dissolving in your hand. Like you squeeze sand and just running through your hands. It's like that shit. It easily runs through your hands. But when you actually do first come into consciousness, then when you wake up and you come into consciousness, you can't remember your dreams. Now, somebody asks, have I tried DMT? I have. And let me tell you this. You're not doing shit on DMT. I'm telling you that shit right now. You're not doing anything on DMT. It's not like LSD. It's not like weed. It's not like Molly. It's not like Percocets. You're gonna be stuck. I'll tell you exactly how. Unless you water it down. If you water it down with weed or something, it may not be as profound. But if you smoking straight DMT, then I'll tell you what happened. What happens is, it's also called Changa. Changa. Right? Now, what happens when you do DMT in the smoking form, you smoke it, right? You smoke it, and it's only gonna take two or three hits, right? 2 or 3 hits. You smoke that shit. Shit looks different. I'm gonna try to explain this the best I can. I'm gonna try. It may not even make sense, but I'm gonna at least attempt to use words to explain it, because I don't think words do necessary justice to describe the actual experience. So I'm gonna do the best I can to try to describe it. So after 2 hits, you start to see shit is different. But after you take that 3rd hit, it's a wrap. So let me try to explain it. So let's just say you're on the porch. You're on your porch, you're looking out. So you see the street. So you're sitting on the porch in a chair. You're looking out into the street, and of course you see the actual street. You see a couple cars parked. You may see a couple people walking past. You see houses, right? All the normal shit. When you fucking hit that DMT, it's like you're not even in the same place anymore. You instantly feel like you're somewhere else, and your body gets weak. But you're in the same place. What happens is shit starts to move. This also happens on LSD too. So basically, if you're looking at a brick wall, that brick wall is going to start moving. That's what happens. So the first thing is shit. So nothing is still. Like, again, you start to become. I guess a good way to say it is you become aware of the wave particles of reality, because things are no longer still. Things start to move. If you're looking at walls, the walls will be moving. If you're looking at people and streets, everything that ain't supposed to move is going to start moving. You're going to start to see little spirals everywhere. Everything starts to move in spirals. So if you're looking at a brick wall, just imagine a brick wall with 100 spirals. And each spiral has its own rotation. That's what you're going to be looking at. Everything starts to twist and bend and shit. And you're looking at it, and you really don't know how to take it. Right? And that's just the beginning. That's just the fucking beginning. So the first thing that happens, again, with me, somebody else's experience may be different, but the first thing that happens is your physical reality starts to move. You're going to starts twisting and bending and all that shit. Nothing is still. So you become aware of the wave particles, or your subconscious mind, whatever you want to call it, right? But your body becomes weak, meaning it ain't just some shit you can do. You take a couple puffs and you get up and drive your fucking whip. No, you're not doing anything. Because after that 3rd hit, and you start seeing shit moving, you start to realize that you start to get paralyzed. You start to get paralyzed. You can't move. It paralyzed. It's like, this is what it is. It's like you feel like you just smoked some poison. Or at least that's how it was in my mind. It's like you just smoked poison, and now your whole mouth is numb. It numbs your whole mouth. And you're seeing these twisty ass visuals. Your whole mouth is numb. And your eyes get big, like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know what the fuck this is. Well, I kind of was familiar because I did LSD already. But so the first thing I remember was LSD. I'm like, this is reminiscent to LSD. But what happens next is fucking ridiculous, and this is the hard part to explain. Somebody said they had a different experience, and that's what I mean. Like, this, from my perspective, because everybody's going to have their own experience. So my experience is not going to necessarily be reflective of somebody else's. But this is my personal experience. So after your mouth numbs, you realize you can't move, you're not going anywhere. You're not, whatever chair you're in, because the experience lasts 20 minutes. Let me put that out there. It's a 20-minute trip. Whereas LSD is like 6 fucking hours. Up to 12 hours if you got some potent shit. Because I've been through that. Like, you just have to take off a full 24 hours. You have to take off a full, you don't, but again, I can talk about that either after this or another video. But let's stick to the DMT. So, after that, you just sit like, shit is different. Shit is like, you really can't, it's basically everything becomes more vibrant. Everything becomes more vibrant. So, the reds, the colors become more vibrant. So, when you're looking at shit twisting and turning, shit looks more interesting. Like, life just looks more interesting. Like, yo, that red dress on that woman is ridiculous. Like, you start thinking like that. Like, yo, do you see that? If you have somebody with you, but in your own mind, you can be like, yo, look at that red or look at that blue. Like, you looking like the colors are popping out at you. And, this is the open eye visual. So open eye visuals, you start seeing shit twist and turn, and the colors start popping up at you. Once, because it's 20 minutes, right? So it ain't like an hour, 2 hours. So once you get over that and you actually close your eyes, finally, now it's the best way I can explain that. Oh yeah, somebody gonna say the fucking background, yeah. Fucking sound like a fucking Egyptian tomb or some shit. Yeah. When you close your eyes, what you see at that point, I think is totally up to the observer, because the shit I saw, it's like being in the mind of a child. It's like how a child sees the world. It's like you forget everything and you're seeing shit for the first time. It's like that. Or another way of saying it is, I'm trying to explain it. It's okay. Imagine spirits. I don't know if people have actually seen spirits before, but those of you who have actually, and I'm not saying with the physical eyes, I'm talking about in a dream state. But that's when the real shit happens anyway. That's another reason why you would be more interested in your dreams, because not only is you're going to be having regular dreams, but once you have more control over the dreams, you can have some type of direction, and you can have a conversation with certain type of people, or the shit gets completely out of the box once you get a hang of it. It's fucking ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. But let me get back to the DMT. When you close your eyes, it's like you're seeing the spirit of, I don't know what the fuck you're seeing, but basically you are no longer a single point of consciousness. You're no longer a single point. What you're going to realize is your consciousness is moving. Your consciousness start to move. I don't know how much sense that makes if you never did this, but your consciousness starts to move. So instead of your consciousness being centralized, basically where your eyes are, your consciousness, so it's like you're moving. You become a spirit, or basically the same spirit you have when you dream and when you travel anyway. I guess you get into that, whatever that is. You want to call it your dream body, your astral body, or whatever you want to call it, your emotional body, or just a point of consciousness. Your mind generates a second point of consciousness, because you're still aware of your body. You're still aware of your body. Like, you know that you're slumped over, because you're going to be slumped over. That's what I'm saying. You're not going to do that shit and you're going to go outside and you're going to be slumped. You're going to be slumped over. So you're aware of your body being slumped. But your mind generates a second point of consciousness, and that second point of consciousness is moving around. And based on what I remember, it's like, it's fucking, Imagine 100. Have y'all, if you remember Pokemon and you remember that Pokemon called Jinx, it's like a lady, it's a lady Pokemon named Jinx. Look up Jinx, Jinx, Pokemon. Imagine seeing 100 of those in a row. You're looking at 100 of these things in a row. To the point you're looking at a whole line of this shit. Of just spirits with blank faces. You're looking at a whole line, so it's unfucking believable. It's unfucking. It's just this shit that you will never see on the physical plane. You will never see this type of shit. So when you be seeing people who be drawing pictures of faces and eyes on DMT, that's why they do it, because like you're seeing a different. Another way of saying it is you tap into your divine mind. If I want to keep it simple, you tap into your divine mind and you start to see divine things like that. You start to see divine things. So me seeing that, and it's colored too. So imagine seeing this, it's all in color, it's all vibrant, you're not stagnant or you're moving. So if it's sitting a straight line, you're moving around it and you doing, you know what I mean? You're looking at the full shit of it. You know what I mean? Like eating hot sour cream, I don't know how that is. I don't know what it, I don't like fucking sour cream, so I don't know what it feels like to eat hot sour cream. But if that's what that's what the fuck happens, then I guess so. Eat some fucking hot sour cream if that's the effect it gives you. But continuing on, once you do it enough times, you start to gain control over it once again. So the first time you just kind of sit back enjoying the ride because you don't know what the fuck is going on. You sitting back, you enjoying the ride, you looking at all this divine shit that you've never seen before. You're in a realm that you've never been before, or you just don't remember it. And then the introspection comes, which is this is the hard part of it. But this happened to me, I don't know for anybody else. You start thinking about your life really, really deeply. You start asking those hard questions. So after the fun stuff happens, after the fun stuff, you seeing all these visuals and these spirits, and then when it starts to kind of disintegrate a little bit, you're not really seeing too much. But now you feeling a bunch of shit. Like all the stuff that you've been holding in your heart. That's why your heart has to be as light as a feather. Whatever you got weighing on your heart, that shit is going to surface. You like, man, what the fuck? Why am I doing this? Damn, I should stop doing this shit. That is those type of thoughts. You start thinking like, man, this type of shit ain't good for me. Or this, I need to do more of this. I need to figure shit out. I need to get my shit together. Whatever that's weighing on your heart is going to surface up. And it's going to force you to look at all the shit that you refuse to look at, basically. Or you didn't want to look at, or you try to hide it within you so that other people don't see it. Like now you're looking directly at all the stuff that you have built up on the energetic level. So and all that shit needs to get out of your system. So you bring it up to the surface, and now you have to deal with it directly. So that's what it does. So once you go through that shit where it can really have you feeling fucked up, because you just depending on what you're going through at the time. And this is probably doing no justice, probably makes no fucking sense, but for all this shit to be happening within 20 minutes, it's fucking crazy. Now with, again, LSD, this same stuff happens, but it's over a long period of time. You got 6 to 12 hours to go through this shit, but again, LSD is completely different. So I don't even want to compare the two. It's a completely different experience. Because LSD, you're still in your body. You still have body conscious. You can still do things. You can still get up and walk around. But on DMT, for those 20 minutes, you're not doing anything with your body. It's like you exit your body. Your spirit exits your body. Because you can't do anything. You can't get up and go to the fucking bathroom. You can't get up and start talking on the phone. For 20 minutes, you're not doing anything for 20 minutes. You're fucked. But your spirit leaves your body, and now you start doing other shit. This is the first time you've seen this shit consciously. This is probably what the body, and the mind does anyway. But you don't be consciously aware of all this stuff. So it's like your introduction of being consciously aware of what the fuck goes on when you go to sleep. And what is really going on in the world on the spiritual level. So you really see what's going on a spiritual level. And the shit it's kind of unexplainable. But then it translates to you feeling some type of way. So it forces you to look at yourself. Then you have to like, man, if you don't like the way that shit feels, then it's like it makes you want to do something about it. So it ain't just like a fun drug. You have fun and it leaves. Like, no, but before those 20 minutes is up, this is gonna have you looking deep into your lifestyle and what's really going on and how to solve it. You know, so since we're on the topic of drugs anyway, how does that compare to LSD or shrooms or weed, ecstasy, all this stuff, right? LSD is much, much longer, but it's more body. It's more bodily. See, LSD is you start to become more sensitive of your body. What do I mean? So meaning like you could just be doing this shit. You could just be stroking your hand and shit, and that shit feels pleasurable. You could just be doing this shit, and you just looking at your hand like, yo, this shit feels wonderful. Like you can have a fucking orgasm just stroking your fucking hand. And I don't mean ejaculation. I mean actual orgasm. It's a difference. So I'm not saying you're gonna fucking bust on yourself, but you may do it. But you become more conscious of subtle shit like that. So you just be stroking your hand, you know, just doing what this you just kind of just exploring like, yo, this is wow. So you like, yo, I didn't think doing simple shit like this can bring me pleasure. You know what I mean? You just doing a little simple shit. But hold on, let me change this track real fast. You see what else we got here. Give me 1 second. You see. So I don't want to keep playing the same shit over and over. Let's go to a different playlist here. Hold on. 1 second here. Just gonna randomly put something on. Okay, here we go. So somebody asked me, did I have a contact with an entity or spirit? Yeah, look up. Look up Jinx, the Pokemon spirit. That's who I was seeing. I was seeing Jinx, a fucking scary face Pokemon. That's what I was seeing personally. And that's how it felt. It's like you're being, let me turn this down. You're seeing shit you've never seen before in physical reality. It's a whole different reality. So like, it's hard to use physical terms explaining that shit because it doesn't make sense. I don't know how to physically explain how you're seeing 100 of the same thing all lined up and you're moving around this shit and you just, that's one thing I did mention. It's like you're God-sized. And what you're looking at is God-sized. It's like you're looking at giants. And again, I don't want to say but this is my experience. So it ain't even like it's something small. It's like you're looking at this shit and it's huge. It's a giant and you're this small speck of consciousness flying, like you're like this little fly flying around a giant. but it's still 100 of these. So like you're looking at 100 giant entities that all look the same, and you just feel so small. That's what it does. That's what it does. It makes you feel very, very small, and everything else is maximized because you just become this point of consciousness. You're no longer the body. You become this small point of consciousness, and you go into this other world where everything is bigger than you. Everything is way more advanced than you. Like, shit is colorful. Like, I'm seeing all type of shit that makes no sense. It doesn't... The laws on DMT are not the laws in the physical reality. I'm seeing X's and O's spinning. It's like an X within the O and a tube. It's like, imagine an X, and it's an O within the X, and it's a tube going through the X, and it's all spinning together like atoms. So you're seeing a bunch of this shit spinning. Like, you're seeing shit that's spinning. Like, what the fuck is this? So you're like, you know, X's and O's, zeros and ones. Like, you basically start to see binary code. You start to see binary code. Well, that's what I saw. You start to see binary code, which lets you know that, okay, this reality that we call reality is really a fucking program. So all this shit, all the spiritual shit we be talking, it makes sense when you have that spiritual experience. Same thing with shrooms, same things with LSD, same thing with herb. It just confirms, that's what it did for me. It confirmed everything that I had already been studying, but I didn't really have that type of experience. I smoked some weed or whatever, but I took some shrooms, but I didn't have that type of experience. And it did nothing to negate anything that I studied. It just confirmed, like, yo, it's more to this shit. You basically see what you don't see with the physical eyes. If I want to make it super plain and super clear, you're seeing what goes on when you close your eyes. You're seeing the wave particles of reality. So when you close your eyes, it's like the motherfuckers stay open. So that's, if I want to describe it like that, you're seeing the type of shit that goes on when you close your eyes. That's the best way I can describe DMT. But then you start to, whatever is weighing on your chest, you're going to have to release it. It's not going to allow you to keep shit on your chest. You know what I mean? So it's like it's twofold. So it's showing you what you're capable of as a spiritual being, not just a human being. And that's another thing, because we understand that we are spiritual beings, so we are active in the spirit realm all the fucking time. We're just not aware of it. That's why it's so important to be aware of your dreams. That's you being active in the spirit realm. So any type of spiritual experience is going to happen in a dream before it happened in physical reality. So, you know, if you're really trying to have, you know, the type of experiences that people talk about, like having a one-on-one with Jesus, or a one-on-one with Isis, or a one-on-one with Anubis, or yourself. Like, it's been dreams where I see myself in the mirror and the shit don't look like me. See, this is I can talk about, alright, if we want to talk about the dream realm, that shit, it's the weirdest shit I've ever seen. When you actually become conscious in your dreams. Dreams are already weird, but when you become conscious in your dreams, and shit don't be adding up, it makes you stop and think, what the fuck is going on? Because you think you're in your house, or you think you're in a familiar place, then you go look in the mirror and you see something else in the mirror looking back at you. You don't see your actual physical reflection, you see some other shit. Right? So let me see. You had a dream where you killed somebody and it scared you? Yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot of that. It's definitely going to be a lot of killing. See, it's like your true self comes out. Some of us are killers. We just don't kill because we know we'll go to jail. You know, that's what I mean by the shadow self. This is your ability to explore your shadow self. Like I said, some of us are assassins. Some of us are ninjas. Some of us are fucking pedophiles. We just there's no reason to there's no reason to fucking be light about this shit. Some of us have very, very sick, sinister thoughts that are just not allowed in this realm. But the reason you have these thoughts, because I'm pretty sure everybody has had a dream where you did some shit that you like, yo, I didn't think I could do that. Like the person just said they had to kill somebody in their dream. You didn't think you would have to do that. You're like, yo, and especially when it's lethal, when it's violent. You know what I mean? Like you pull, I don't know how you kill the person, but I've killed several people in my dreams, and this shit, it'd be so graphic. You kind of for a minute think that you really killed somebody. You pull the trigger and you actually see what it does to the body. You actually see it in slow motion. Or you cut off a head and you're seeing the graphic details of what you're doing. Because that's just how powerful the mind is. You're like, yo, I didn't know I had it in me. You know what I mean? Somebody said kill all the pedophiles. It's like, man, that's just like saying destroy the world. You know what I mean? It's just, this is the reality we live in. So, and because we can't kill all the pedophiles, because it's not possible. You ain't just about to go up and kill motherfuckers. I'm just using that as an example of this is the shadow self. Some people are like that. Some people don't take it that extreme. Some people do things that are less extreme, but some people do things that are very extreme. You know what I mean? So, with the shadow self, this is where you express that whatever it is. That's why I'm like, I'm not here to cast judgment. Because when it comes to the dream world, it's a different playing field. It ain't about what's right or what's wrong, what's good or what's bad when you dealing with spiritual work. See, that's the thing. Don't bring your moralism into your spiritual work because it doesn't have anything to do with it. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is, it's not about being a better person. And it's not about helping other people either. See, this is the thing. Let me make this plain and clear. People like to fucking make shit sound sweet, but it really isn't. Spirituality has nothing to do with a person's morality. Because a person may say, all right, you can't be spiritual if you're doing shit like that. You can't be spiritual and, committing crimes or doing shit like that, but that really doesn't have anything to do with your spirituality. It's not about what you do physically. That doesn't determine a person's spiritual level. Because if we use moralism as a guideline to who's spiritual and who isn't, of course you're gonna say, well, the most spiritual people are the people who do more for other people or who behave the best, but it don't have nothing to do with that. It can be a fucking pimp could be more spiritual than a motherfucking pastor. When it comes to spirituality, that's possible. You know what I mean? So, and yeah, somebody said religion makes you feel like that because it's about control. When it's about control, you're going to tell people, be a good person, help other people, turn the other cheek, be Christ-like, so on and so forth, because you already know they don't understand the book they're reading. They don't understand the information they're reading. The book is way too advanced, even though it's being taken literally. It's so fucking advanced that it's being taken literally, no matter what holy book you're talking about. But getting back on point, your spirituality doesn't have anything to do with who you are as a person, because your spirit is more than that. That's the point. It's not about, all right, I'm a good person. Don't have nothing to do with what's going on in the spirit realm and developing your consciousness to be aware of spirituality. It doesn't matter how good of a person you are when you talk about spirituality. Now, right, if you're talking about religion or tradition, that's different. But if you're talking about developing your mind, developing your consciousness, expanding your consciousness, being aware in your dreams, and being able to do spiritual work, that has nothing to do with what you do here. It doesn't matter what your occupation is. It makes no difference whether you a doctor, a lawyer, pimp, drug dealer, prostitute, shooter, killer. That has nothing to do with your spirituality. Now, yes, you probably shouldn't be doing some of those things if you're trying to stay free, but there's still things that can be done outside of that realm. But again, the reason why most people don't talk about it because it's very graphic. But you see how graphic this video is? The type of shit I've been talking in this video, motherfuckers will never say this shit. But it's real information still. Even though it's not being spoken, everything that I'm saying is reality. It's just a reality that remains hidden because motherfuckers is thinking about how can I become a better person instead of how can I expand my consciousness to the spirit realm and become one with the gods and one with these energies that I call myself working with. I am not separate from them. I am them. Which has nothing to do with whether you sit down to piss or stand up. Makes no fucking difference. With that being said, that's why the shadow self comes into play, because I can say we all have thoughts that remain unmanifested, whether it's positive or negative. It's thoughts that remain unmanifested because I don't want to do that. You know, you have your real self, then you have who the fuck you think you are. It's a difference. The real you is a motherfucker, that first instinct. Like, oh yeah, I want to kill this motherfucker. Or I want to cuss this motherfucker out. Or I want to say something. Or I want to do something. That's who you really are. The person that's saying, I'm going to fall back, is the more refined you when you develop the discipline. Like, all right, I'm not going to react like that. But even though I want to, if I had things my way, I would have punched his head off. But because I know what comes with that, I'm going to fall back. Doesn't mean you're a good person or a better person. You just have wisdom. You just utilizing wisdom and understanding like, yo, it ain't worth it. Although that's how I feel in my heart. Like, yeah, I want to really put hands on this person. But you know, like, yo, that may not be the proper way to handle this type of situation. But when it comes to spirituality, especially when you're dealing with other realms and other dimensions and parallel universes, it goes by different rules and regulations. Like, for example, God or the Supreme Intelligence really doesn't give a fuck about what you do here. Who cares about what you do here is people. Who's all in your business? People. People care about moralism, not the Supreme Intelligence, because if the Supreme Intelligence cared about moralism, shit like what goes on in the animal kingdom would go on. People would not be suppressed or oppressed. The world will be completely different if the more well-mannered you are, the higher your spirituality and the further you can go. If it is based on moralism and behavior patterns, sounds more animalistic to me. But if it was just really about that, like, all right, I'm gonna refine myself to have a certain type of character and personality and all that, that's ego. That's really ego. People thinking ego is you telling somebody to shut the fuck up when they need to be told to shut up. Ego is thinking that you're going to somehow supersede the Supreme Intelligence because you just stop kicking people's asses now. You used to kick ass and you stopped. Doesn't make you more spiritual. Doesn't make you more moralistic. You just stop kicking ass because you use your wisdom. Like, all right, yeah, I learned my lesson. Doesn't mean you're more spiritual. You just like, yo, it's just, you know how to navigate and maneuver life. Doesn't mean you're going to have access to the spirit realm because you're not kicking ass. Or you're not going to have access to the spirit realm because you are kicking ass. It isn't based on who's kicking ass and who isn't. It's based on who is willing to put in the work and who isn't. It's all about work. That's why it's called the great work. Look it up. It's called The Great Work. And none of that shit is about who has the best manners and who behaves the best and who fucking meditates the longest and all that shit. It ain't about none of that. It's about who is willing to put in that work.
5 seconds.
You get what I'm saying? So if you're willing to put in that work, that means you accept who you really are. You're not trying to change. You're not trying to change the fact that, maybe I shouldn't think about killing motherfuckers. No, you don't change that. Like, yes, you think about, you know what? I would kill this motherfucker if I had things my way. And I'm going to I really am going to actually kill the person in a different world. Because, of course, you want to keep your hands free, right? This is why spirituality works. This is why people can do death spells and kill people and nobody knows what the fuck happened. Nobody's going to jail either. That's why that shit is possible. Because how would you even be able to affect somebody on a spiritual level if it's about moralism and behavior? You shouldn't even be able to do that shit. That should supersede the law. But it was a time where you could go to jail if they accused you of witchcraft. If you were accused of witchcraft and it was proven that you actually practiced witchcraft, you could be punished. This is before the modern age. Because, now it's like, we don't believe in God. We don't believe in all the spookism. It's just all about what we can see. And that's what limits science. Science is limited because they're basing everything off of what you can actually observe. That's why they build their fucking machines. But they can't tell you about what they can observe. That's what spirituality is. Spirituality is all the things that you don't see, that you cannot see. So if science is hell-bent on explaining things based off of what can be measured and what can be seen, 95% of the universe is still unknown to the average person because most of the universe is dark matter and dark energy, and you can't see these things. Spooky action at a distance, where one atom can affect another atom a million miles away. The reaction this atom has will be reflected in that atom a million miles away, because as long as they have made some type of initial contact, they will be forever connected. Quantum entanglement. As long as two atoms have connected at some point, they will always be connected. So when this atom reacts a certain way, that atom is going to react the same way, even if it's a million miles away, because they are quantum entangled together. That's why telepathy works as well, because as spiritual beings, not as human beings, because humanly we're not connected to nobody. You're not sharing a body with nobody. But what connects us to each other is quantum entanglement, and that's working with your spirit. That's working with vibration and frequency, right? That's working with sound. We're connected through sound, because it's the sound that produces the vibration and the frequency, and it's the sound that you don't see. You hear it, but you don't see it. That's what connects us together. So you can use sound, aka mantras, to have an effect on your reality or a person, place, or thing, because you are affecting sound. You are manipulating sound, and sound is manipulating the atomic structure of the atom. When the atomic structure of the atom is altered through sound, that lets you know, because sound travels at 1,120 feet per second. What does that mean? That means you all the way over here can affect something all the way over there, 1,000 feet away. You can be heard 1,000 feet away. That means so up to 1,000 feet, you have the ability to affect everything around you up to 1,000 feet using sound. So that's more than your body can do. So 1,000 feet in all directions, you have the ability to affect your reality using sound. By using sound to affect reality beyond what you can physically touch or even physically see, that's what allows us to navigate this reality. See, it's magic or sorcery. I prefer sorcery because magic and sorcery is one and the same. It's the same thing. So anything considered magic is sorcery. I prefer sorcery because it sounds a lot more sinister. You know what I mean? Like when you call somebody a magician, then you call somebody a sorcerer. It's a big ass difference there. It's just when you think of magician, the first thing that comes to people's mind is the illusionist, the stage performance. You know, motherfuckers disappearing in boxes and shit, right? Now, you hear sorcerer. Anything can pop up in your mind when you hear that. Yep. Yo, what up, Green Revolution? So if somebody came up to you and said, I'm a magician, you wouldn't really feel no type of way about that because the first thing that's going to pop up is, all right, you're an illusionist. You have tricks. You pull rabbits out of hats type shit. So you don't feel no type of way. But when somebody walks up to you and say, I'm a sorcerer, now you're thinking about necromancy, which is communicating with the dead, and spirit possession. Now this is a whole nother realm of reality. Because most of the time you're not going to hear somebody say that, I'm a sorcerer. If they are, they're not going to fucking tell you. But sorcery is magic. So anything considered magic, an older word for it is sorcery. And sorcery was banned at a certain point in history. Pre-modern age. They wasn't having that shit. It's like they wasn't having witchcraft. So there were laws on the books that will lock your ass up if you was found to be doing witchcraft. So if motherfuckers don't believe in that shit, you can actually suffer consequences from that shit at one point. Because the people believed in that shit. And if you go back even further, because this is like the medieval times, if you go back even further to the ancient times, where motherfuckers didn't know nothing about modern science and building machines and all that shit, because you didn't need to, because you had a natural connection with the universe. See, that's what motherfuckers don't understand. When you have a natural connection to the universe, you don't need to build machines. What do you need a machine for? Why do you need a machine to measure something that you're naturally connected to anyway? You don't. The only reason motherfuckers need to build machines is because they don't naturally feel the connection. They're numb. That's why motherfuckers in science don't believe in God and they have to build machines, because they don't have a natural connection with the source energy. So they have to build machines and they have to spend your fucking tax dollars to build this shit so that they feel justified in what they're doing. Which isn't much of anything, because if you don't have a natural connection to the universe, which we all do, but if you pushing this agenda that we don't, and you're trying to monopolize and monetize it, they're not just going to build a machine for everybody's benefit and it's for free. They're going to find a way to charge you for this shit. So it all comes down to money and revenue. But that's neither here nor there, right? So saying all this to say, everything I talk about is sorcery. From this point on, I'm not going to refer to it as magic. It's sorcery. Not a magician, a sorcerer. Because just me changing that small thing, and that's why words are so powerful. That's why you must really define how you define yourself. For example, me saying that I'm a sorcerer sends a different vibration out than me saying I'm a magician. It's a completely different vibration, which will have results in the physical plane. As I said, try it for yourself. The next time you meet somebody, say, hey, what's going on? I'm a magician. Shake their hand. They're not gonna really. They'd be like, oh wow. Going to a motherfucker you don't know. Hey, what's going on? Well, what do? I'm a sorcerer. They wouldn't even know how to respond to that. Because how do you respond to that? How do you respond to somebody saying they're a sorcerer? Because since most people are so negatively minded, they're going to automatically assume that that's something negative and you're trying to do some shit to them. Like, well, I better not get on this person's bad side. They may put a fucking hex on me or some shit. People start thinking like that, like motherfuckers just don't have shit else to do with their time. But you do have people who use those type of things on each other, which is just a waste of time anyway. Like, you do have people who be putting people under hexes and shit. To me, which is a waste of time. I don't have time to hex a motherfucker when you have different options. Cause some people take it all the way to death, but it really just depends on the severity of the situation. Now that we go by sorcery, I know I've been on this. What time is it? Let me check the time. I actually do have. Let me make sure I'm not over on time. I'll be right back. Let me check the time. Even though it's on my phone, I can just look at it. Alright, it's 1:10. So I got 2 hours before I got to do some. I can be on here a whole nother fucking 2 hours. I might just do that. I'll make this a motherfucking 5-hour video just to piss motherfuckers off. Like, I know I'm not watching that long ass shit, but But I'll be right back, and somebody just asked me a question. How do you develop telekinesis? I'll answer that question in just a second. Give me 1 second, and I'll answer that. Genetic makeup unheard of. Control nature, communicate with bugs. A fortress surrounded by thorn bushes and thick fog, and 2-headed dogs patrol the perimeter into the winter. Tongue like a scorpion's pincer. Prince of Persia, murderer drum kick, flow awkward, ride giant moths just like horses across the skyline. I rhyme crazy, battle axe break spine, you crawl like baby. I break trees with one breath, so powerful. What I would do over a track is devour you. He introduces verses to a pantheon of gods, knowing that these can be used like actors in a play to release his secret knowledge to mankind. I'm rare, leap in air, levitate, holding my cake. All right. Now somebody asked me, how do you develop telekinesis? I gave out the technique at the beginning of the video, but I will reiterate it again, which is, if you're trying to transfer your thoughts to somebody else, imagine a white light traveling up your spine to the medulla oblongata, however the fuck you say that, the back of the head. Swivel that bitch around to the third eye and direct the thought into somebody else's head. So, try that technique. Make variations. That's just a concept. If you feel a different color works better, then use a different color. If you feel a different way of swiveling the energy around works better, do so. So use that as a base, then develop, improve on it as you go along. So every day you're going to be around, all type of motherfuckers. You on a bus, you on a train, you in your car. You got all day. You around people all the fucking time. So you got unlimited time really to test this shit out. Because people just because you at work or whatever don't mean you can't, exercise your spirituality. Because you can if you have a spiritual mindset. So you got people that you can work on all day. You around motherfuckers all day. So, with that being said, let's continue, shall we? Yeah, if I go 5 hours, then This goes to show I can do this all the time, but it's not necessary now, is it? I just had a lot to say this time because I haven't been here. It's been like a week, like 2 weeks. But enough talking. Let's get back to the knowledge. Let me shuffle up this deck. Now, sorcery 101, right? So let's talk about how to develop your sorcery. Alright, now that we're using proper terms, how do you develop your sorcery? Let's construct the tarot, shall we? So the question is, how do you develop your sorcery? And we're going to see what the tarot says. So, appreciate everybody for sticking in. I know it's a long-ass fucking video. For all the people that had to go take care of their business, shout out to you. You know what I mean? What's the girl's name on the card? Oh, the Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords. That's the name of it. Alright. So, question is how to develop your sorcery. Now, what does the tarot say? I'll draw 5 cards, huh? See what these cards say. First card. Art. Huh. So, this is definitely a very interesting card if I do say so myself. Now, art can be another word for alchemy. The hot, the cold, right? You mix up the pure with the dirty. The two become one, but that one is neither of the two. Right? I'll say that one more time. You mix two to become one, but that one is neither of the two that it mixed with. It becomes something new. So that's the first lesson here. The first lesson is doing new shit. Take what I say and whoever else you listen to and whatever information you take in, take the information, apply it, then mix it and match it and, you know, put your own art to whatever it is that you do, which makes it original. And that's when you tap into your own power. That's when it becomes more than you just doing what somebody else said. You're using your own creativity and your inner genius, I should say, your natural abilities, and you create new things. Because like I was saying, you know, we are the conscious self and we are the shadow self. And that's my point, meaning you need both of these. You need that wild fucking savage, but then you need the refined king or queen on the throne too. You need both of those. You need that warrior, but then you need that diplomat. You need both. So you need that white girl and you need that dark girl, if we talking about drugs, right? You need that coke and you need that heroin. Right? Two things become one, and that one thing is neither of the two. And if you can grasp that concept, then you get it. See what the next card is. The question is how you develop your sorcery. The sun. So what is the sun? The sun has the whole zodiac around it. If you look a little closer, you see it's the whole zodiac. Alright, it's the whole zodiac. You got the two angels with the sun emitting from the middle. So again, you see a similarity here. You see a similarity here. Two angels. You got the two. Right? Now what is the sun? sun is the light. What is the light? The knowledge. What is the knowledge? The inner. True knowledge comes from within. You don't learn true knowledge. True knowledge is revealed to you through spiritual work. It ain't found in a book. It ain't something that somebody can tell you. There's revelations that will be revealed through you, and that's just as valid as anybody else's claims and validations. But that's when you start trusting yourself. When you start doing original work, you're going to come up with original conclusions that somebody else may not have ever spoke about or said, and you have to be firm on your original conclusions that you come up with. Back it up with the science, back it up with the spirituality, back it up with your own faith and confidence. That's what develops the sun. You become that sun by being original and having faith and confidence in your own originality and your own power. That's how you become the sun. Meaning you become not just one zodiac, but all of the zodiac. Not just the male, but the female as well. Or not just the masculine, but the feminine too. You become it all. You become everything in the universe because you already are. You just come to that realization of what you already are. So it don't matter what truth you come in, it don't matter what truth you come into, you're going to end up at the same conclusion. We are all connected. And because we are all connected, and not just all us as in people, but people, places, and things. We're connected to people, places, and things. So that's why you can manifest people, places, and things. You can create people, places, and things. So it's not just limited to people. So this is what it is. When you become the sun, by trusting in your own originality, you see like, yo, I'm all of it. I'm not just a Cancer. I'm every zodiac sign. And when the 12 become the 1, or not the 12 become the 1, you add the 1, the 13th sign, the Ophiuchus, the 13th zodiac. That's when we get into the 13th. Right? So you got the 12 going around, and you got that center point, which is the 13th. Which is all of it. What else we got? Strength. So here we get the sun once again. But you also see the moon right here. Right? So you see the sun, but you see these. So what does that mean? Why do you have these moons at the tips of this sun? And why is it called strength? Now, going from this, coming to the realization that you are everything, people, places, and things, you are all of it. Meaning you are the sun and the moon and the power behind the sun and the moon. You are the seen and the unseen. Now you are able to package this information into an arrow. Or in other words, you're able to collect this information and this new state of mind you have entered into, you're able to compress it into a directed idea. Which is where you see here. The sun, this represents a direct idea. So you got the sun penetrating the what? The moon. So here we go once again. You see, now we're seeing a pattern, all this dualistic shit, right? You got the sun and the moon here, the masculine and the feminine here, right? So you're seeing a pattern. So the pattern is the dualistic relationship between things, the seen and the unseen. So the strength comes from not only what you see, the solar energy, but also what you don't see and what you feel, the lunar energy. So now this is getting into the strength coming from not only what you see, which is the sun, but also what you feel, which is why you see those moon crescents. It's about what you feel. Because that's your intuition. Now you start to develop your intuition, which is an essential part of your sorcery. Because there will be certain things that you may not be able to perceive, but you can feel. Because again, we are all connected, so you will be able to feel when something is trying to harm you or hurt you or an opportunity. So whether it's harm or it's an opportunity, you're able to sense it. You get what I'm saying? Malcolm X, in his book, his autobiography, he spoke about it got to a certain point when he was in the streets where he can tell who were undercover cops and who wasn't. See, when he was in Harlem, when he was, running the streets, at first they had to tell him because, he was, you can say he was pimping on the side. He was directing people where to get some ass. You know what I mean? He was telling motherfuckers, you want a lady? You want a prostitute? So it got to a point where his intuition was so well developed that nobody needed to tell him no more. And that's where the strength comes from. Nobody has to tell you shit no more. You know. That's the knowingness. You just know. The truth is something you know now. You don't need no more outside validation at this point. That's where you gain your strength. No more outside validation. So although you see this bright ass shining sun, it directs you into the lunar, the feeling, the intuition, the spirituality that is unseen mostly. Alright? Are y'all getting the picture yet? Let's finish up this reading. The Empress. The Empress represents an impregnated idea. That's why you see the pregnant woman. Also, all right. Yep. Okay. We back in this motherfucker. So, yeah, the phone died. I mean, here we go.